Hey, welcome to the jam room. Who's this?
Hey, Christian, it's Jennifer.
Hey, Truth
Hey, what's
Seeker.
going on?
How's it going? Are you're still like upright?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't break my nose, but it was close. It hit the bridge of my nose. It was a cardboard sign that is on the cart that I use. And when I have to put this sign up, it goes up like about 6 feet and I click it into position.
Right.
And when I clicked it into position, the cardboard, I guess, moved or something, and it's pretty thick cardboard in this metal frame, and it fell out and fell straight down, and it hit my nose. It hit right where my glasses sit on my nose.
Oh my
gosh. And I didn't even
gosh.
realize that I was bleeding right away, because you know when you first get hit hard, it kind of numbs you right away.
Oh yeah,
But you're
yeah.
like, yeah, I was like shocked. I was like, fuck. And then I realized there's people all around me. And then I was holding my nose. I'm like, oh my God, okay, it's not broken. And then I pulled my hand away and I saw all this blood and I was like, no. And I have a white shirt on and I'm trying to like get paper towels out from under my cart. I couldn't get it to stop bleeding. And I finally just had to give it up and go home because I was starting to get blood on my shirt and stuff. So I have a nice kind of scrape on the bridge of my nose. Thank God it didn't break because I'm Italian. My nose is big enough. I don't need any extra help.
Oh man. I've had that with my glasses, and it's like that pain is so bad right at the
yeah,
bridge.
it makes your eyes water. I instantly started crying because I've had a lot of stuff on my mind lately, and I've been holding it all in, kind of.
Yeah.
And then this happened, and it was like, it was just a gusher. I couldn't stop because it was like all the stuff I had built up on me came out with this whole event, and the people around me didn't understand what was going on. And I'm just like, I gotta go, I gotta leave, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, seriously. At some point, you realize you just gotta like get out of this situation and be like, you know what, this is like not where I need to be right now.
Yeah, and that sign had fallen out once before. It was when I first started working, and it hit me in the head that time. But I was okay, and it didn't break any skin or nothing. And I guess it just somehow got knocked loose or something, and I just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I was like, oh my God, like what else is going to happen? My day's just starting. I don't need this right now. And I went home, changed my shirt. I cleaned off the cut and just laid down with some ice after I got a bandage on it, put ice on either side, and took an ibuprofen and a shot of Fireball and laid there for about an hour and a half. And then I had to go back to work because I left everything where it was and I had to put it all back and everything. I can't just leave it out on the floor. But
Yeah.
I was just like not in a very good mood today. But I just kind of tried to laugh it off too, in a way, like can't hold on to that stuff. I tried to move past it pretty quickly, but I've been feeling so emotional the last couple of days and I've been holding it all in. And then when this one thing happened, it was just like a gusher with me with tears.
Yeah, it's like a watershed moment, right? Just all busts open and you're like, oh, I totally know what you're talking about.
So I don't know if this is a Mandela effect thing or not, but I could have swore everybody was saying, and this is what I remember, is December 9th was the day that shit was going to hit the fan. And now it's December 10th.
Yeah, the 10th.
It was the 9th. I even saw it in print, December 9th. And now it's like everybody's saying it's the 10th. It's so weird. I'm like, what?
It could be. It could be one of those things, because if it was the 9th, that would stick in your head, like.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like fully prepared to, wake up today and just see all I mean, I do see Owen Benjamin's channel's not around anymore, but
wow.
And he was even saying it was December 9th.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I don't know. Maybe some people got one set of emails and other people got another or something. Maybe more ways to mess with us. You know? I was talking earlier and I had no idea that all these things had been happening around the country in like Florida, Pensacola and stuff like that. And I've just been like pretty disconnected from stuff.
What's happening?
I don't know. Another like some rampage on on a military base.
Really?
Some guy went crazy, and this guy was talking to me about it this morning, and I thought it might end up getting me whacked or something on the stream or something. Maybe it will in the future, just because he was talking about the event, and I don't know what they're going after now. But the live chat and all the comments we were talking about are still up there, so I'm not sure exactly
right.
what
They might get it after you stream, because that happened to me. After I had streamed something I had streamed. Okay, it was the Tatarian thing. I mirrored it off another person's channel, and I streamed it as a premiere. The premiere went all the way through, no problem. And then once the premiere was done, they pulled it and gave me a strike.
Wow.
And said it was hate speech. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is about Tataria and the Jesuits. How is this hate speech? This is history.
Yeah.
You know? And the person who originally put it out, which was a plaintruth.info or a plaintruth.something, now I think he switched it. It's still up on his channel. It's still up on somebody else's channel, and I get a freaking strike for it. And I appealed it, and I even wrote that in there on the appeal, and I said, this strike needs to be taken off of my channel immediately, or I will sue Google and YouTube.
There you go.
And I left it at that.
I mean, do you think it was a strike because you were directly mirroring the guy's content, or do you?
No, I know a Plain Truth, as a matter of fact. He's had one of my videos on his channel. There's a truther in every family. I'm the truther in mine. We've talked a few times. And I didn't even mirror it straight from his channel. I mirrored it from somebody who mirrored it from him. So it was like a secondhand kind of thing. And I always put the original links in and stuff. And he's the kind of person, you know, if you care, please share it. So I know he wouldn't have any problems. Google's just targeting me, or YouTube's targeting me.
Right.
It seems, literally, like ever since I started really getting on shows and streaming and talking on Brian's show and stuff, I just get attacked. My computer gets attacked. Like right now, you're streaming, everything's fine. But if Brian was streaming right now, my computer would just be loading and loading and loading, and I'd have to go over to my phone and listen on there because my computer's all muffed up.
Are you serious? Like you?
Yeah.
Every time you get involved in a hot stream, they're on to you.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like only in the, I mean, I never had any strikes or issues or anything. I did have copyright claims, but everybody gets those. A strike is definitely completely different than a copyright claim. They'll still let your video play and stuff, even though you have a claim on it, but it's just letting you know that you have something in there that is somebody else's, that, you know, you have to say in the video somewhere, like, this is not my music, or I did not make this music or this content, or like, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But the strike and those things stay on for 90 days. Like this most recent strike I just got isn't going to be off my channel until February 9th. So I have to watch everything I do on that channel between now and then. Even though in 2 weeks I'll be able to upload again and stream, I can't take any chances because one more strike, I'm done. And who knows?
That's crazy. How long have you been building a channel for?
I had it since 2009, but I didn't really do much with it until 2016 when, you know, the Mandela stuff really popped off with JFK and everything. And that's when I started doing the JFK surveys. And I would just go around asking random people, all ages, how many people were in the car.
I love that. I love the fact that you went after a specific group of people too, like the vets and stuff. Yeah,
well, after I did about 50 people, random people, all ages, I tried to gear my questions more towards 60 and older, but I would ask people of all ages. Once I got through all that, which is about 50 to 100 people I asked, I started on the vets because where I work at, I run into a lot of vets, and I figured, well, they would know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like 9/11 for us. They lived through it. They know where they were. They know how many people were in the car. You know, And they answer immediately, right away. They don't even have to think about it. I mean, every once in a while, I'll have somebody have to think for a second or have to think about exactly who was in the car.
Yeah.
But basically, they say 4 all the time. I've never had any vet say 5 or 6.
Yeah. I did this to my uncle at the shore. We went to, I've been going to the Jersey Shore for my whole life, and I know you're from Philly, right?
Yeah, what part?
Ocean City.
Oh my gosh, my son Chris lived in Ocean City. It's nice and dry there.
Yeah.
I grew up going to Wildwood every summer. Wildwood, New Jersey.
Oh yeah. What's there's some bars there that have these bands that play every summer down there. And we used to go over and just it's so much fun. In any case, what was I going to say about, so at the Jersey Shore, I'm with my uncle. It's a family get together. And I was like, do you remember what the JFK assassination car looked like? And he was like, oh, yeah. Do I ever? He's like, I bought the car. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I actually hunted down the exact replica of the car and I bought it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so I showed him the picture of the car and I was like, did it look like this?
Oh my God.
And he looks at the picture and he's like, no.
Now he's going to have to go out and hunt down a whole new car.
I know. He was totally freaked out. And
dude,
this is a guy
that would be something to video right there. That would be good.
Yeah, he bit hard on the update, and he started hitting the internet, and he was looking at the details about the car, and evidently it was, a car that was ripped apart, and then they added a whole nother row in there, It's
but
like
when he was looking for the exact replica, he would have taken this into account at some point in his recollection, and he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He would have been like, hey, this doesn't look like the car. Like the car had a second windshield and stuff.
Yeah, it's like exact replica doesn't mean like sort of like replica. It's exact, Yeah. Even in those museums, they have exact replicas. And I have noticed discrepancies, though, in the 4-seater. I've noticed that if you look at the Time magazine one, the back seat going across the back seat looks different than the back seat of the car that they're in now. It looks like the original had like a quilted back seat. If you know what I'm talking about, those leather seats that have kind of like those button indentations in them.
Yeah.
The one now has lines going across it, I think. I noticed that. That was something that I picked up on right away. And also, if you look at Connolly, the way he's sitting in front of JFK, I would love to know where their legs are, because it looks like there's no room for any legs. It's just his torso and his head, and then a wall, and then the guy in front of him. So where the hell's his legs at? I'm saying? It's bizarre.
It is really bizarre. And I remember spending a good long time with my buddy looking at the Zapruder film over and over again, because at the time it was like Conley definitely wheels around and like, has like a direct shot at him.
Yeah.
And
no, you mean the driver. The driver turns around and shoots.
I think I was looking at the one at the time. It was like the guy in the passenger seat.
Really?
Had like this kind of over the shoulder kind of shot at him.
Okay, because I remember that same footage, what you're talking about, because this is what got me about this whole JFK thing, because I watched that footage over and over again, and they said that the driver turned and shot. So if he's turning over his right shoulder with his left hand, right? To go over and shoot JFK over his right shoulder. Now,
with his
now
left
he'd be
hand,
shooting Connolly in the face.
Yeah.
where Connolly's at now, whether there's a windshield there or it's just some sort of a support for the top roof, because somebody was bickering with me about that. Oh, there wasn't two windshield. It's just a support beam for the roof that wasn't on there. I don't care what it was. There was never a support beam or anything there. It was straight open. And a lot of the vets that I asked them to describe the car. I said, is it a straight open convertible or is there a divider going across? I don't even say windshield. I say divider. No, it's a straight open convertible.
Yeah.
And I did a video a while back. I was watching a clip from a show called, it was a mini series back in the 90s called The Kennedys. And in that movie, they showed the original footage of them getting off the airplane in Dallas. You see the limo pulling in through the crowd of people, and it's the six-seater with the divider. But when they pan to the actors actually walking up to the car to get in, all you see is those suicide doors and a straight open convertible from the side. And you could tell that it's the one that we remember because the suicide door handles are very close together.
Yeah.
The six-seater they have now, the doors are separated apart from that divider that goes across. So it brings the handles separated further out. And then in the original where they're closer together, I picked up every aspect of this car. I picked it apart. And I'm like, okay, this is a mini series. They're going to get all this right. The car is a main prop in this show. They're not going to get that wrong, right? But no, right there, I showed it. You could see that it's the original straight open convertible suicide doors. So
that's the one my uncle got. That's the one he was describing. You know, the suicide doors. Like that's what he was describing. The vehicle that he had purchased.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, for a while, I know that the footage seemed to indicate like Jackie had something going on too. Do you remember those? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's still there.
Right. I didn't find out about the whole Jackie thing until after I found out about the six-seater JFK debacle thing. And I was like, well, wait a minute. No, the driver turned and shot. We watched that thing over and over and over and over again. I can still replay it in my head, watching it exactly where I was in my apartment at the time, everything.
Right.
And then I heard the theory that Jackie shot him. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We're going from the driver shooting him now to now this crazy six-seater, and now Jackie shot him? So I go and I watch it and I watch it and I watch it. And I'm be damned if it doesn't look like she did something.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, okay, my reality just flipped upside down.
And that's exactly what happened for me. Like for a period of time, and it was back when I was living in California, and it was probably like 2015. I was looking at Conley as like, it looked like he kind of wheeled out and did something over his shoulder. And then it seemed to kind of switch, and all of a sudden Jackie opens up this bag and like pulls out something.
Yeah, because he's holding his neck and he's kind of leaning over, and then she's holding him, talking to him, and then you see her look up at Connolly, like as if she's saying something to him or he's telling her what to do. Next thing you know, you see her hand come up, and that was such close range that it would make sense that it would blow out like that in the back.
Yeah.
And, I did hear some stuff about her being under Jesuit control or mind control. I mean, who knows with these people, what they're into.
I love how the guy that did the autopsy on our president, it was like the first autopsy he had ever performed.
Oh, a newbie. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, they were talking about how botched the job was on, I don't know. They show pictures of like, the aftermath of the autopsy of this guy, and it just seems like just part of the story, like how in the world would a guy perform his first autopsy on the president?
Yeah, I mean, really, you're going to want somebody who's seasoned, who knows what they're doing, is not going to make any mistakes. But, you know, they bring in this this newbie who doesn't know what they're doing, and then they can blame any mistakes and stuff like that on something like that.
I know, it's like it's all the plausible deniability. It's, you know,
well, see, the thing that gets me about this whole thing is that there's two women in this car. And I'm like, you never heard any mention of his wife, Connolly's wife, ever in all this.
no.
Never.
Yeah.
What was her reaction to it all? You can watch Kevin Costner's film JFK all day long till the cows come home. Yes, it's changed now, but they don't mention Connolly's wife at all. When you watch the Zapruder film, Connolly and his wife, when the shots get fired, him and his wife fold over like paper mache people on each other, like they collapse in on each other.
Yeah.
It's bizarre looking. Check it out. And she's got this huge bouquet of flowers in her lap that Jackie was originally holding.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all crazy.
So,
I don't know
do you think
if the whole thing was staged or not, but it's definitely not what I remember. And I was all into JFK, even as a younger person in my teens. It was one of the first conspiracy things that I ever got into. And then I was really into archaeology and the pyramids and Egypt and all that. And I was just really enamored with the whole JFK thing. And I watched anything I could get my hands on about the whole thing. And that's just my anchor effect for me. Once I came upon that, to me, it was like there didn't even have to be any other Mandela effects. That's enough.
No, I'm the same way. Like, I spent time with this film to really get to the bottom of what went on. And I went through frame by frame and I watched as this thing kind of changed. I never remember the sound of, and I never remember all these different camera angles. And I definitely, those would have come up in my searches as I was looking at this.
I thought all those camera angles, because I remember hearing, and I don't watch the news, but I remember hearing some stuff about Trump was supposed to release some stuff from JFK because it was so many years after, and it was at the time where they can release a whole thing of it, you know, just a whole dump of all this declassified stuff. And I thought maybe, because I remember them saying they took everybody's footage, everybody's cameras and all this stuff. And I thought, well, maybe they were just holding back all this footage. And then just recently it all got dumped. And now that's what we're seeing on the internet, all these different angles that we weren't allowed to see before or something.
Yeah. Well, did you look at the kind of timeline with the Zapruder film and how he held on to it and then got into like some kind of negotiation with Life magazine over the footage? Did you?
Oh, no, I didn't hear all that.
Oh, it's really interesting to follow the actual Zapruder film, because he actually was, you know, sitting on like all the evidence with this film, right? And he wouldn't turn it over. And it was like, you know, it turned into a big thing where Life magazine was trying to buy it from him. And it wasn't until like a year after that the film actually came out. Did you know that?
I kind of remember something about like within a year after this whole thing with JFK happened is when the Zapruder film finally surfaced or something.
Yeah, it's like they reached some kind of sale price, and the guy, you know, but who knows what could have happened in that year? I mean, that's a long time for them to be doctoring up stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But if you look at the timeline of that film and how then you weave in Life magazine, which is obviously part of Time Life, you know, all of the propaganda and stuff that has been coming out of them for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they're the ones that ultimately got the rights to the thing, and Zapruder himself was trying to like secure a deal that would like net a lot of money for his kids and stuff. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, but, you know, the JFK thing itself, everything from beginning to end has shifted so much. I mean, I know I'm stuck on the 4 people in the car, but even the whole thing with Oswald and Ruby, him shooting them, The angle of that has changed. The shirt that I think Oswald was wearing when he got shot is different. He had a white T-shirt on. Now he's got something else on or something.
Right. I'll tell you what, that whole Lehar, like where he's coming out of the jail and Jack Ruby gets him.
Yeah.
That whole scene looks like a Hitchcock filmed that. You know, like, and I actually remember seeing early, and again, this is like 2014, 2015, something like that. I remember seeing videos that showed the people kind of milling around before Oswald comes out of the jail. And it seems like when he's coming out, these guys kind of take their marks. You can see marks on the ground where they like walk to.
Yeah.
And it's like they're getting in position for the shot when he comes on out. And then it looked like something right out of a Hitchcock film where it was like, boom, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, got you. And, you know, it's all in like this high definition, black and white, like it's on a movie set. I don't even think that was a real building.
Yeah, I don't think so neither. It was all staged. But, you know, so those kinds of things, and even history and stuff, it's like, I don't understand how this stuff is changing. It's so bizarre, though. I feel like the Mandela effect is a, what do they call that spirit? A jester or a trickster?
Yeah.
Loki is one of the 8 fallen angels, or he's a demon. I don't know, Loki. But I don't know. It seems to me like that's what's going on. It's like we're in this time right now where, God, I can't even explain it. It just seems like some sort of a magic spell to me.
Yeah.
You know, like we're under some kind of a spell or something to where, you know, it's causing confusion, and Lucifer's the father of confusion and lies. I think it's a good thing that we're seeing it and we can see it for what it is. Because a lot of people can see things, but they can't see things for what they are. You know, they just, they have the mainstream media over their eyes. And even though they see something, they don't see it for what it is.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I think the message is pretty clear that reality is not what we think, and that there are some, you know, bad actors in this world that are doing really tricky things to the rest of the population. And I think to get people to look at these things and understand that they're subject to change, you know, and it kind of opens you up to the bigger truths that might be coming down the road.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that this is definitely leading to something bigger. And the people who can see it for what it is now will, you know, maybe ease into that bigger thing later where other people won't know what the hell to do. They'll be freaking out.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, the only way you can wake up to something like a flat earth would be to understand that evil and deception could be really big, right? You have to kind of be able to swallow that pill.
Yeah.
That there's something maybe multi-generational, maybe you know, like going back hundreds of years, there could be something in play, and we're being born into this. You have to kind of get your mind around that before you can accept something like the earth is flat. You know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What I find interesting is there's a reason why we're calling it the Mandela effect. I don't know what that reason is yet, but there's definitely a reason for it. This Fiona Broome lady who coined this term and then vanishes into thin air. Nobody's heard from her. She's not on any shows. She's not calling in anywhere. She doesn't have a YouTube channel where she's talking about all this stuff.
Right.
Well, they just made a movie with the name that she coined. Where's she at? She's nowhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like there was a spell that was cast over everybody. But we're not taking hold of the spell. We're seeing the changes where everybody else they're taking the updates and stuff. And just like that thing that Paul Knight did, where those people in that village, they started dancing until they died. They had a spell on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that movie Hocus Pocus, where they're like, dance, dance, dance until you die. And everybody just starts dancing and they can't stop. They don't even know that they're under a spell. They just keep dancing until they fall out.
Is that like a whirling dervish or whatever, the people that spin?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but there was this movie called Hocus Pocus a while ago. It's a Halloween movie, but the witches in that cast a spell on everybody. And they just say, dance, dance, dance until you die. And then everybody's dancing. Yeah. And when I heard Paul Knight do that, I was like, check this the fuck out. This is a spell, you know? And these things are powerful. I mean, we might think witches and spells and, oh yeah, Halloween and all that stuff, and it's all hokey and everything, but there's validity to this. These people do this stuff, and they do rituals, and they have magic circles. And I think CERN is one gigantic magic circle that they like to perform rituals and bring forth demons through there. Yeah. Considering it's supposed to be located over the pit of hell, I guess they would call it. That'd be like direct access. Yeah. Maybe they brought Loki forth, and he is here now. His spirit is here now, and he's having fun changing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. For me, the Bible changes speak volumes of what's going on, because I've not seen one positive Bible change. So for me, it's more telling of that this thing that's happening is not something of a divine nature. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. However, it is good that we see it and we're awake to it, because, you know, we're God's children and we need to be vigilant, and we need to engage our free will and our discernment and have that armor on us, because if not, we will be deceived into this great delusion, because that's what it is. Yeah. And people are going to be so confused. They're not going to trust each other's memories or their own memories. People who see it will be thought of as insane. We're considered insane, you know? And that movie, Mandela Effect movie, just makes us look paranoid and crazy. Yeah, I know. That movie went off the rails like halfway through, and it just turned into like, I think of one of those Darren Aronofsky movies, like, I forget, like all these psychodramas. It basically just jumped off the Mandela Effect and went down this really bizarre road of, you know. Well, I think what happened there, now I have not seen it, but what I've heard is it starts off all Mandela-y, and then it goes off the rails, and then you wind up at some crazy subliminal thing at the end of the movie where they're showing all this aerospace stuff like rockets and space shuttles and all this stuff like that. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I've always thought that Mandela Effect and Flat Earth are connected somehow. Well, they connected it in this movie, because they went right from crazy Mandela Effect to programming space into people's heads before they left the movie theater. Yeah. You know? And, you know, you saw Paul do the show where he's talking about the words and the letters, and the letter A and the E being swapped and stuff like that. Did you? Yeah. It's interesting that Mandela is like like man delete, you know, like the delete key. Oh, okay. I got you. I have no idea, but like ever since he had, I watched that show where he was talking about words being spells, and, you know, breaking apart words and stuff like that. You look at a word like Mandela, like, and there are a lot of really interesting changes, or if you think about the A or the LA, or, you know, the city I live in, the city of Angel, LA, you know, there's a lot of really interesting connections that I don't know. I'm trying to English language is one of the most, you know, dumbed down languages there is. And we don't even understand the true power of our words and how we use them and stuff. like even in legalese and stuff, when a police officer reads you your rights and it says, "Do you understand your rights as I read them to you?" You're not supposed to say yes. You're supposed to say no, because they're asking you if you understand you stand under your rights. People don't get that. So it kind of has a double meaning. Outside of law, you're like, "Oh, do you understand this?" "Yeah, I understand it. I comprehend it."
Right.
But when they ask you in legal terms, "Do you understand?" they're asking you if you stand under your rights. And I don't stand under my rights. I stand above my rights. I stand with my rights.
Yeah.
So things can get tricky that way. And I think that at some point, English language is going to be a dead language. I know that sounds strange, and you can't even probably imagine that, but I think when we level up and we start having all our senses come online, we won't need to speak.
Yeah.
Speaking is lesser than, it's a lesser version of us. We shouldn't have to even eat, really.
Like maybe the words that we're being fed at the beginning of our life are the words that kind of contain us. You know, like they create the universe that we're in. These words that we've been given at the beginning, you know, almost like all the history and all the science that we're fed at the beginning. You know, it's all part of the same kind of like, we're gonna build this world around you with all the components that you need, you know, based on what we think you need, you know. And that's what you're given, you know. And we're all just kind of like given this primitive set of tools, and then we're given a whole bunch of, you know, chemicals in our water supply and everything like that to just like keep us totally preoccupied with nonsense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was watching a guy the other day. He's been living off grid for 5 years, and he's just goes all over hiking and camping and, you know, living off the land and stuff. I'm thinking, man, this guy, he has no idea what's going on in the world. And that's awesome. You know, I mean, ever since I turned my TV off and I don't know what's going on in the world, I love it. I don't know anything unless somebody tells me.
Yeah.
Or I see some crazy thing on Facebook or something. But yeah, we're totally surrounded by toxic stuff everywhere in the food, air, water, and everything in between that. And then when I say we live in a matrix, we live in, you know, it's like you know, where you go in one of those fun houses at the circus, and you're trying to find your way out, and there's mirrors everywhere, and you're trying, you know what I mean? You're walking in the mirrors. Whoop, wasn't that way, you know? And that's kind of like what we're in. And I think one of the worst things that you can do is live in a big city. I lived in a big city all my life, and when I go back now to the big city, I can't even, 2 weeks in the big city, I'm like, can't even wait to get out. It's I can't even believe I lived here all my life.
That's like eternity. If you're in like an enclosed environment like that, where it's, oh man.
Oh yeah, I can't even deal with it. It's like as soon as you open your front door, there's another million doors and windows right in front of you because, you know, everybody's close by, right next to you, all over the place. You know, people are just acting crazy, running around. Everybody's worried about themselves, and it's like, and they're oblivious to everything else.
Yeah.
And I think that people are in the big cities who live in that kind of construct don't see the Mandela effect like we do, you know, because they're just too preoccupied. There's too much going on right in front of their faces. And it even says in the Secret Covenant that it'll be so close, so right in their faces that they won't even see it until it's too late.
Yeah. And
that's how they do this, everybody. Now, I've been thinking a lot lately about the 3 days of darkness.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's biblical.
Yeah, like right around Christmas, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking in 2020, I don't know why 2020 is just sticking with me so much, but I was saying the other day, like, well, what's it going to get to the point, like, where things are shifting so much, so fast and constant that, you know, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be walking through life And like as if in a movie, everything's going to be shifting around you. You know what I mean? Like you can't even pinpoint any one thing to even contain a memory of something.
Yeah.
And then it'll get to the point, I mean, I don't know why I see it like this, but I see it like this. I can see it in my mind's eye. It's going to be going like so fast, these Mandela effects, and it's going to be all around us constantly. The people are going to go crazy. They're going to be losing their minds, and then it's going to be lights out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 3 days of darkness, and people are going to be losing their minds and freaking out. And I do remember hearing somebody talking about this, and they're like, you know, you need to just stay cool, lay low, stay calm. If you're in your house, don't go outside. Make sure you have food and water. Like, you're going to hear all kinds of crazy noises and sounds and stuff like that. You're not going to know what's going on, but just, you know, pray to God and stay in one place and one location and all this stuff. Meanwhile, outside in the world, everybody's going nuts and, you know, the world's just crumbling. But at the end of all that, what comes out of that, I don't know, but I could see that happening in my head. It's just like
some
this
kind
Mandela
of
effect, I think, is leading up to that 3 days of darkness.
Right. And if you have some kind of idea about how this works and how we can be tricked and deceived, then when the tricks happen, we can kind of lay low and let them all blow over while the rest of the world is like crumbling, thinking that, oh my gosh, like the sun didn't come up. You know, like what happens if it comes down? And I've thought about this, like people talk about the dark ages. What if the dark ages were really actually dark? You know, like the dark ages were like the sun wasn't coming up, you know?
Yeah, and they talk about, I've done a lot of research into the moon before I realized we were on flat Earth. I used to do a lot of research into the moon and ancient script about the moon. And the Arcadians had writings about a time before the moon and what life was like before the moon and how the moon came to be. It was rolled across the sky and put in position. And I mean, you can't make this shit up. Who the hell would think that up? I mean,
I know.
Obviously there was a time before the moon, before we had the moon. Were we in a perpetual twilight of, you know, light, but it wasn't like, you know, super light all the time, but there really wasn't any darkness neither. Yeah. I don't know. I think things were very different probably before a reset, one of these resets.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you this. We got Joey Rocha in the chat, and I'd be interested to, like, what if a bunch of people, and I told this to my wife the other day, I was like, this isn't like, I don't mean to freak you out or anything, but like, one of the things that would be really interesting to me would be like, if a bunch of people went to a place that was like really desolate and probably really cold for most of the year. You know, like North Pole or someplace you can get to, northern Canada, maybe, you know, and set up like a dome kind of thing. It, you know, where you build a village inside of an enclosed area, and you work off the grid. You use the cold temperatures. You know, you could do a lot of stuff with cold temperatures outside and differentials between cold and hot temperatures. You can create lots of really interesting energy sources and stuff like that. But if you created like an interesting village kind of society in a place that is really remote, really cold, you know, really no one around, but you kind of start from scratch, you know, building crops and stuff like that. And keeping warm, keeping the lights on, doing, you know, and it would be a kind of thing where you could wake up and it would feel really nice out. You know, you'd get up and you'd go to the shop and grab coffee and, you know, hang out, talk with friends and play sports and do all the stuff that you do. But it'd all be like, I don't know, maybe you could even do it under the snow or something where it's like really a, you know, kind of like an underground environment or a domed environment, some place where a bunch of I don't know, people that want to get away from it. And
they had that movie Biodome.
Biodome, yeah. Something like
but
that.
I think they have that. I think that they have underground Arctic bases and stuff that they've built like that. I remember when I was looking at DUMS and all those, tunneling systems and stuff like that, undersea tunnels, undersea bases and stuff. They were talking about something in the Arctic or the Antarctic where they have even an under ice base where even submarines can come in submerged and then come up from the water and be up into this, kind of like under the ice biodome thing.
I think there's a chance that we're like in a big block of ice, and there's like we're in a enclosed environment that is got the heat source and the sun and the moon going around, and possibly they're continuing to kind of like melt further and further or something like that, or maybe it reached an equilibrium or something like that. But there's something about the color of the sky that makes me feel like we're in a big block of ice.
Yeah, and I used to always ask, well, why is the sky blue? And you get the same answer, because it's the water, we're near the ocean or whatever. Well, I'm in Alabama, and I'm like 300 miles from any ocean.
Yeah.
And the sky can be extremely blue here. Now that I know that there's water above the dome, makes a whole lot of sense why the sky is blue now.
Yeah.
The problem I have with the water above the dome would actually mean that there's water on the sides of the dome as well. So what's on the outside of the dome besides water? I mean, I'm actually picturing in my head that it's a dome and then there's more ice and then maybe another dome. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. But if there's water, unless there's water between the two domes, like say there's our dome,
right,
and then there's a 2,000-mile wide swath of ice going around the rim of us on our dome, and that's filled with water. And then there's another dome that domes over another area. You know what I mean? Like kind of like those Russian dolls.
Yeah.
Just put water in between each, though.
Yeah.
I was thinking it might be like that.
I could totally see something like that.
Because I was thinking that, if there are aliens that visit us, they're not coming from outer space. They're coming from next door somewhere, on the other side of the dome, maybe from their domed dimension, and they figured out a way to get from theirs to ours, but we can't figure out how to get from ours to theirs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do believe that we are in the midst of I think we're consuming products and technologies that are not actually being made here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure where they're shipping stuff in, but it's really interesting how all our waste and all of this stuff kind of disappears and new products show up and stuff like that. Right. And there's a lot of stuff that I really question the source of, it could very well be like some neighboring areas on our plane, Yeah,
it has to be. It has to be something like that. I was really into the whole UFO thing and everything. I was really into space. But I remember hearing, who the heck was it? I think it was William Cooper, because I have his book, Behold a Pale Horse. And I remember him talking about the UFOs that he seen when he was in the Navy, the ones that came out of the water and all this stuff. And he even said that he did not think that they were extraterrestrial, but that he thought that they were interdimensional.
Yeah.
Now, dimension could be, our dome location is our dimension. Outside of this dome is another dimension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just depends on how you look at dimension. A dimension is a plane of existence, and we are on a plane.
Yeah. Do you remember in the Truman Show when Truman starts to understand that he's living in like a set of some sort.
Yeah.
And the whole world he starts looking at people like actors, and he starts challenging the things like the oceans that are around him and that have kept him contained. I do believe that there's a lot of truth to things like that. Like, you know, we look at the videos of the oceans and stuff, and how treacherous they are to you know, traverse these things. And especially like the Indian Ocean, which is like where you have to go to Antarctica. And there was that Malaysian flight 373 or whatever that they said went down in the Indian Ocean. And then they showed all these rescue missions, and all they showed was like 100-foot waves, you know, and these boats like trying to make it up these waves to try to look for this aircraft that had gone down. And it just looks treacherous, right? You know, and
now, imagine if we were all Truman. I don't know if there's 7 billion of us, that could be a lie, but imagine if a whole shit ton of us got in our boats and headed for the ice wall.
I know.
They would throw remember what Truman went through? He went through all those waves and winds and storms, you know, and all that stuff. They tried to deter him from getting to that wall that was the end there where he went up the steps and out the door. But look how they got Antarctica guarded. That circle, that ice wall around us, has military at every point around that wall. Some may disagree. They might be like, oh, they don't have the whole wall guarded. But if I had the world's army, I didn't want anybody getting out, guess what? I'd have somebody posted at every spot around that fucking wall. Because they know. I mean, first off, they're in contact with whatever is on the other side. That's why they all go down there and they have their bases there. Somehow they're able to get in touch with these things that are on the other side, whether they're good or bad, I don't know. But they obviously want to keep it to themselves, and they don't want us to know about it. So if it was something good or angelic or something like that, they're definitely keeping us from getting to it. Whether they're actually friendly with it or in contact with it, I don't know, but they might be like, okay, well, that's good over there, and we can't let them get to that, so we're going to guard this shit. Nobody can come down here or over here. And because they don't want us leaving because they can't leave. And if we get to get out of here, they're only going to have themselves to feed on, emotionally and spiritually and all that stuff. So
you know, I always think about, like, if there is the ice wall, you know, the Antarctic with the sun stopping there and then coming back to the center and then going back out there, I have to imagine that, like, once you get to like the big icy areas around the realm we live in, it could be thousands and thousands of miles of complete darkness that you have to go through before you hit like any kind of and I have to imagine that our military and other militaries have gone into that darkness long distances. You know, it's like if you're based down there and you want to take a 2,000-mile journey into darkness, I do believe you could probably go and go and go. And then you would probably, who knows, it could be like the Truman Show where they throw everything at you, you know, and you're going, and then all of a sudden it's snow and darkness and complete whiteout. And then you're, you know, it could be really, really treacherous after, you know, after you get beyond a certain point.
I remember listening to somebody a long time ago when they were talking about the gray aliens, and somebody was trying to describe where these grays are from, and it wasn't Zeta Reticuli. The person had said that these grays, which are little demons to me, they come from in between the dimensions. They're not in one dimension or the other. They come from in between, that space in between, and that darkness that you just described, or even that space between the domes that I was describing, I think is where they're coming from. and they're not good. I don't care what anybody says. If I see a little friggin' gray thing running around a bobblehead, he's gonna get tased.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting how so many people that talk about alien abductions and stuff, they all have a similar kind of description. And what's also interesting is like there are people that people that take DMT will describe like encounters with beings, and they all match the other people that have like had that same kind of experience, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's you take a chemical and thousands of people could end up seeing the same type of being, you know, in their trip that they take. I think that's pretty interesting. Like how does that manifest, you know, like a commonality there, unless maybe you're lifting the veil and you're actually getting a glimpse of some of these things that are multidimensional. And that's, I think,
exactly. I don't see these little gray beings as being at a higher dimension than ours, a higher dimension that we're in. They're just in a different. They're not a part of our dimension or the other dimension. So I guess they can kind of slide in between, like the shadow figures and all these things like that. And I don't know what their real purpose is or anything like that, but.
Dredd was wondering about why assume a dome, and I'm not necessarily assuming a dome, but I do believe that we're in some kind of container because of the pressure, and I do believe the pressure has some massive thing to do with the tides.
Now, yes, exactly. I was talking with Brian and Karen about this. I can't think of the name of what it's called. It's kind of like a terrarium. It begins with a B or something like that, but it shows where you can have a ball, like a bubble, right? With water all outside this bubble, but inside the bubble, it'll have its own atmosphere. There can be land in there, vegetation growing, clouds, condensation, and everything.
Yeah.
And this can be contained in this little round bubble, kind of. And that's why I think it's a dome. I think that just given if it is a circle that we're in, if it's a circle like a pizza, and the ice wall is the crust, and then if there is something that divides our realm, our dimension from another one, it would make sense that it would be dome-like, and it is depicted that way in ancient scripts and stuff. That's why I think of it as a dome.
Yeah.
It is definitely a container of some sort. We are contained here for sure. And, you know, if you want to look at it like, well, maybe it's a square thing over us or something. I don't know. Dome just resonates with me. But I know it's not a sky with vastness of space that's ever expanding above my head. So when I go out now and I look at the sky, I just look at it completely different now because it's so weird to be living in one lifetime and have these two completely different concepts of what you're looking at. Something that you looked at all your life. I used to go outside and think, oh my God, it would be so cool to go to Jupiter and check out Mars and travel the stars and, you know, Star Trek and all this stuff. And I'd sit out there at night and my binoculars and look at all the stars and stuff, Sirius and everything. And now I go out there and I'm like, I just have this completely different outlook on it. And I'm just so enamored and so curious. And the sun and the moon just blows me away every time I'm out there. I'm just like, I can't even believe I thought you were out in space somewhere, you know? It's amazing how malleable our minds are, but yet they get us at birth. And that's the problem is that we're taught this stuff from such a young age, and it's no accident. We're born into it, and there's really nothing we can do about it unless one generation wakes up and they start teaching their kids the truth. Because guess what? My kids are already grown. But if I was having young kids right now and I learned all this stuff, I would be teaching them. I would figure out a way to homeschool them, take them out of all this stuff. And, you know, because the problem is that we're lied to all our life. We're indoctrinated into it. And then some people, the indoctrination is a lot thicker and a lot took hold a lot more. Maybe their family values, where they live, the demographics of their area, you know, how much televised to the vision that they've been exposed to all their lives and stuff.
You know what I'm amazed about is like I do believe that there are people, there like generations of families that are pulling tricks over our eyes, you know, like pulling the wool over our eyes and like performing like part of the deceptions that are going on. And, you know, they're elite families and stuff like that. I just think it must be
absolutely. There's generations, and there's generations of networked satanic families at lower levels. Because this works out on levels, and the main level is the common network of satanic families that are all around that get their orders from the ones that are above them to help perpetuate these lies. They're in the medical field. They're in schools. There's probably one teaching your kids today, tomorrow, whatever. You'll find them everywhere in dentistry, everything. And they're always in positions of authority over people in some way, and they help perpetuate the lie. Now, these higher level people, they know exactly where we're at and how this whole fucking thing works. They know all this shit. That's probably what they're hiding under the Vatican. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they know exactly what the sun and the moon are. They know exactly what's in the center and how that whole mechanism works. They're probably hiding huge continents of land from us.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us can really say what this place even looks like. We're given a globe with some land slapped on it and water all around it, and that's how the world looks.
Yeah.
You know, and then now we're finding out, now it's flat. Okay, well, do those those continents that were on that globe now fit onto this flat map thing that we're looking at? And then, you know, well, maybe there's this whole chunk of water that has no land. Give me a break.
And can you imagine these bastards that are like passing on these tricks and deceptions onto their like younger kids? Like, oh, Johnny, who's like 12 years old, Daddy didn't really do this. Daddy, like we performed a trick on mankind with this moon landing, and don't believe it like the rest of the people. Like, how does that go where you're passing down this sacred knowledge of like what really transpired? Like, all these kids go to private schools, right?
Yeah, they don't go to the schools that we go to. I remember hearing a long time ago, and not just to point the finger at one specific race of people, but I did hear that, you know, they don't go to our schools. They go to their schools where they learn the really important stuff.
Right.
That we're not taught. And, you know, I'm sure it all comes with, you know, the veil of secrecy, and, you know, death will come to he who speaks and all this stuff like that. You have to understand, these Satanist families do everything opposite from us. Yeah. Like, we celebrate somebody's birthday, have a beautiful party, and, you know, show that person love and all this stuff like that. Well, when their birthdays come up, they get ridiculed, they get beat, they get kicked in the groin, they get, you know, all these sick, sadistic stuff done to them on their birthdays, because it's opposite from what we do. We celebrate life, that you were born into this world, that the Creator created you, and you're here today, and this is when you arrived and all this stuff. Well, they hate that, so they don't celebrate birthdays. They pretty much run you into the ground on your birthday.
Yeah, I remember George W. Bush talking about his book that he wrote on like some news show, and they were asking him about a part in his book where his mom had like a stillborn kid, and she brought the stillborn kid home in a jar. And
what?
Yeah. And this is him telling this story on the news, like, you know, Fox News or something. She brought the dead fetus in a jar and brought it and showed all the rest of the kids in the family so that they got.
Well, she is Aleister Crowley's daughter, so I would expect nothing less from her. Good old Barbara Bush.
Barbara Bush is like I'll tell you what, I actually spent a little time going all the way back to Martha Washington, and I spent some time looking at the pictures of the first ladies of the United States going back to the beginning. And I gotta say, a lot of them look like Barbara Bush. You know, it's just very.
I think Barbara Bush was Aleister Crowley, that he didn't die. That's what.
There you go. Like the, I mean,
so much like him. I mean, so much like him. I mean, there's just no way.
In that Paul McCartney book, the memoirs of Billy Shears, he talks about like if people realized how many people are direct descendants of Aleister Crowley, they would be like totally questioning the world they live in.
Oh yeah, I remember back when I used to watch CNN. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was CNN. It had to be that or MSN or something. There used to be a lady on there called Candy Crowley. And she was a White House, somebody who would report on the White House stuff.
Right,
Candy Crowley.
Candy Crowley.
And she was related to Aleister Crowley. And if she did not look like him, I don't even know. I mean, she looked not as much like him like Barbara Bush does, but you can tell. And this is right when I was learning all about Aleister Crowley and all his bullshit, and Jack Parsons and JL, whatever that is, JPL. And NASA and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, look at this Candy Crowley chick. So I started researching her, and I'm like, oh my God, she's related to fucking Crowley.
Yeah.
And they all worship him. You see everybody, you know, mentioning him in their videos or have him on their shirts and stuff, do what thou wilt and all this other stuff. What's that? Dawn, something of the Dawn book or something that he wrote. Everybody just lives by that stuff.
Yeah. The
and
black magic or sex magic.
Bloodlines.
Sex magic, you know.
Yeah,
he was banging a lot of chicks, and it was all part of like his like his whole philosophy of like sex magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I saw something with Sean Lennon, John Lennon's kid, and you know, it's obvious that Sean Lennon is like following in his dad's footsteps, you know, like all the mysticism that his dad and probably his mom, Yoko Ono, are involved in. It's all become like manifest in him, and he makes this music which is very like, I mean, it's super trippy and super like it's like, I think they have Crowley written all over it. You know, it's just.
Yeah. Well, their main goal is to not only, you know, to lie and deceive, but one of their greater goals is to perpetuate the lie, which is part of how they worship Lucifer. And you'll see like a lot of these actors/actresses who are transgendered themselves, but they're lying to everybody, saying they're one thing when they're really something else. So they're being deceiving that way. And then they have kids or they adopt kids, and then they transgender them, acting like this is their child's choice, and they're just letting their child do what they want and be free. So they're perpetuating it on to the next generation, whether it's their child or an adopted child. And then that child's going to grow up all muffed up and confused and in the rituals and all this other stuff, because we really don't know what's going on behind these, you know, highfalutin mansions in Hollywood and everything, even though it looks like it's all beautiful and all that stuff. Some really ugly stuff's going on behind these doors. Yeah. And
oh my gosh, did you see any pictures from the American Music Awards that just happened?
No, I haven't. What was
it? They have like, I don't know, 6 different acts that come out and do live performances while they're doing the AMA Awards. And it's, you know, like Taylor Swift, she's got something, but then it's got like, you know, some of the newer artists, Cabello, I don't know. I'm not sure who all these guys are. The rapper, what's his name? Post Malone. And he did a thing with Ozzy Osbourne. But the whole theme of the 2019 American Music Awards was devil worship. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like one scene after another that was like, some precious girl sacrificing her soul, getting her throat slit, and then ending up in Hades. I mean, it's like the whole awards show ended with a song by Billie Eilish, which was "Good Girls Go to Hell" was the name of the song. And if you look at Billie Eilish, it's hard to tell exactly what you're looking at, because it's like, and she's the daughter of two actors in Hollywood, that obviously probably, participated in lots of different, ceremonies.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, is that these kids, this is normal for them. They're born into it. Day one, the rituals start. They don't know nothing else. Yeah. They think everybody else is probably doing this stuff. You know what I mean? It's normal to them.
Yeah.
You'll hear a lot of the actors, I used to hear this, that they don't like to kiss. The reason they don't like to kiss is because they have to eat shit. I don't want to kiss you if you just ate shit. But this is part of what they do, and the deception is a requirement. And like, this is just, it's all normal to them. And that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. Well, I don't understand how they could do this, all this stuff. You weren't raised up in it. You were raised in a Christian household. So you understand and know what it's like to be good and wholesome. Yeah, we deal with some shit along the way, and you got to make your choices in life. But for them, they live in utter darkness. Lucifer is their God. He requires sacrifice. You have to sacrifice and worship him. Anything that is divine, like God, the Creator, and Jesus, do not require worship. They're divine. They don't need your worship. Satan needs your worship. Yeah. Jesus needs your praise and your love, and for you to go out and praise and love everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's what he came here to teach us, how to live and how to be and how to overcome all this shit. But Lucifer, he wants a blood sacrifice, and you got to worship him every day. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and that'll be enough. Nope.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, everything that that book, Billy Shear's book, was about is like the original Paul McCartney knew that like he was going to be a sacrifice, and he knew that like the end was near for him. And even the people close to him knew that he was preparing for his departure. Once he had been brought into the club, once he sold his soul, once he was like given immortality as Paul McCartney, it was like a given that he was going to be sacrificed. And there's a guy that just died like yesterday or 2 days ago. He was a rapper, and he died at the age of 21. And it was like, he's a big time star. He was found having convulsions and all this crazy heart stuff going on, and he passed away. But a year ago, in his lyrics, he said something like, "Forget the 27 club. I'd be lucky if I make it past 21."
Wow.
And sure enough, he's dead at 21.
Yeah. Well, they sacrifice each other. And a lot of things that people don't understand, I noticed too, is that they think, oh, this is just a rising star. This is the latest person out. That person came from a satanic family and was groomed to come up one day and be out into the forefront in the public eye, whether it looks like it's an accident or they just, got discovered in some club somewhere. No, that's always the backstory.
Yeah.
These people who are on the red carpet are only on the red carpet because they're in the bloodline. That's what the red carpet represents. And you and I will never be on the red carpet because we're not in the bloodline.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
And Lucifer requires sacrifice. And this is why they're always checking people's bloodlines and DNAs, because if you're in the bloodline, then your sacrifice requires a little different level. Yeah. If you're in the bloodline, but you're only like, say, 5%, 10%, or you're going to have more sacrifice. But the higher up you are, like people like Beyonce and Madonna, and you don't really know, well, who the heck did they sacrifice? They sacrificed somebody along the way, but it's not like that one girl from American Idol where she sacrificed, 5 of her family members in one shot, What the heck was her name, that black girl? It was like her aunt and her nephew and her uncle and her mom all got shot up and dead, and then she blew up as a star.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. She was in a bunch of plays too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no accident that these people wind up in the roles that they're in. I'm not saying good people don't make it, but they only make it to a point, and then they drop off. You don't hear from them. Everybody that you see on Tell Lies to Your Vision and all these award shows are all bought and paid for, signed in blood, and they all do rituals, and they have to. And
the scary one is Ariana Grande.
Oh God, I did a whole thing on her and her upside down Christmas tree a couple years ago.
Oh, what's that? She's got like rituals.
She had about a year or two ago. She had a black Christmas tree upside down on her ceiling, hanging from her ceiling with gift nailed to the ceiling. Everything was black, and it was in an all white room.
Oh my gosh!
This was her Christmas tree, and she's not even a female. So that's another thing. This whole gender inversion is, I did a video about involuntary sexual reassignment of children, where children don't volunteer for this. It just happens to them after birth because their parents had this excuse or that excuse, or something went wrong with the circumcision and it got all muffed up. So they had to do something. This was the excuses for some of these things. Yeah. But they do this gender inversion is to mock God and to worship Lucifer. Because when you have a baby and, the Creator gave you a boy, because you don't get to pick and choose what you're going to get. You make love, you get her pregnant, and then, okay, I'm having a girl or I'm having a boy. It's kind of like a surprise. Well, they take what the Creator gave them and they have to invert it. That's mocking the Creator and stuff. So, and then this child is already born into a lie, is going to live a lie, because they're going to raise that child as the inverted sex. So if you have a little boy who's inverted and made into a girl, getting hormones all his life, doesn't know any better. I mean, I can imagine what Britney Spears must have went through because of how she lost her mind, because she probably found out that she wasn't what she thought she was all this time. Because there's got to be some point where they realize, I must not really be what I thought I was because I don't have the equipment to actually have kids,
Yeah.
Or, oh, wait, I still have to take these pills. I'm 30 years old. Why do I have to take testosterone pills or estrogen pills or whatever?
Yeah.
Hormones and stuff. I think that's why a lot of these actors or actresses, we see them break at some point. It's not so much the MK Ultra mind control that's breaking down on them, which is what they would rather have us swallow that, as opposed to, oh, they just found out they're really a guy and they've been living a lie all this time.
Yeah.
Also, I've found out that when the inversion happens, it's not like when they go and have sex, it's going to be like a girl having sex with a guy. They don't feel those things that, they don't have orgasms and stuff like that, which is all an important part of having a relationship with somebody and having, making love. The orgasm is the main thing. So they don't have that. So they go through their whole lives going through from man to man and stuff like that, never satisfied, can never figure out why the relationships don't work and all this stuff. It's because they're not really what they think they are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that plumbing doesn't really work the way it's supposed to work.
I didn't really talk to them, but I was reading comments in this one person section on YouTube, and they had said that they really wanted the sexual reassignment done. They got it done and everything, but they didn't enjoy sex anymore. Like it didn't feel like anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't like how a woman feels when she's having sex with a man, because they don't have a G-spot and all this other stuff.
All those good things. I had a girlfriend that worked at a transgender organization in Boston, and I went down there a number of times to hang out with her, or to pick her up and talk with the people that she's working with. And they were all these transgendered people, and it was really interesting to hear people that had gone through like the surgeries and stuff. And one guy even made a video. It was like a cult classic about his reassignment and his lovemaking after the reassignment. And it was just really bizarre because like he had to kind of like, it was a she that was a he, but he had to kind of like simulate that he had stuff going on there with like fake like rods and different things. And it's like, I don't really know what you're experiencing at that point, but it doesn't seem like natural sex.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, there's a certain spot on a man and a woman that create, to help create the orgasm. And if that spot's all muffed up and, cut apart and inverted or
it's supposed to be inside. It's supposed to be inside, but it's like dangling outside, and they've got.
And then if it's outside, now it's all inside somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. So I did watch a video of a guy who transed to a woman, and then he was already post-surgery, and he showed his hoo-ha and what it looked like down there. And I saw, where the stitches, they basically take your balls and do some fucked up shit with them.
Yeah.
But he had some kind of a tube inserted down there. So this thing that they had created as a vaginal canal would stay open, and then he had to gauge it. So he had these different size like dildos that he would have to use he'd have to use one for 1 week and then one for another week until it got to a point where it was dilated to a certain point, and then he would be able to have sex. And then it was like, oh, I finally had sex and it was good. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching this. But you got to know your enemy. Not saying all these people are enemies, but you want to know every aspect of what's going on the chessboard here.
Yeah. My mother-in-law was watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, and she heard this singing, and she looked over and she's like, who's this dude singing? And she got closer, and it was Celine Dion.
Yeah, he's a dude for sure. I can't believe I never saw that before. I just thought she was really ugly.
Oh my gosh. It's
So Bruno Mars is a girl. They couldn't have given him a more manly name. They knew when they were putting this one out. They said, okay, we're going to have to come up with a really good manly name for this one. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. So Mars is going to be his last name. Now, what's a really cool butch name we can give him? Let's give him Bruno. That sounds really tough and manly. There we go, Bruno Mars. He's a woman. I did a whole video on him. You will never see Bruno Mars with a shirt off. Never.
Yeah.
You can look all day long,
he's like
24/7 on the internet. You are not going to see it.
He's like 5'3", right?
Yeah.
And he's got the softest skin of any man I've ever seen, right? And he's just like,
I did a whole video on him. It's so crazy. I even turned him into a woman. I used the app on him, and I turned him into a woman. It wasn't very hard at all. I mean, he just instantly. It was like, you don't even have to use the app. Some of the pictures that he has out, you can see it, and I don't know how people can't see it. Oh, he's Filipino and all this. Give me a fucking break. That's a girl. There's no Adam's apple.
I'll tell you what. I saw Pink.
Oh God.
And she was
one
flying.
Of my highest rated videos I have out there. Yep.
She was flying around the ceiling on one of those body suits, with the harness.
Yeah.
And she happened to come down and land on this pedestal that was right in front of a camera. And when she comes down, she I don't know how to say this, but she looked pretty manly, in the man parts. Yeah.
Well, Pink has one of the strongest Adonis belts I have ever seen on a transgender person. And I've looked at a lot of transgender pictures. Women do not have Adonis belts. Now, there is an Adonis belt implant conveniently that's out there, just like they have calf implants and breast implants and butt implants. I know all that. But when you look at a true Adonis belt and you see what the implants look like, you can tell. Okay, I can spot that now. But when you look at Pink and you see her on the beach in her bikini. I always look at paparazzi pics because they're not airbrushed. That's the only pics that I look at, paparazzi ones. This bitch has got fucking handlebars. Her fucking cuts are so deep on her. I mean, I don't know how I never saw this before.
No,
when my eyes opened to this and this whole inversion thing, and then what came after that was all the transgender bathrooms in schools, all the trannies reading to kids at libraries, transgenderism being taught now in 2nd grade. They're teaching kids how to use dildos and fruits and all this other stuff. I mean, what the hell is going on?
I know. It's so crazy. I have a 12-year-old. And last year she was 11 and she's in like 6th grade, and they were reading a book, and it was called The Giver or something like that, the book. And so at some point I saw that The Giver, the movie, was on TV, and I looked at it, and it was like TV mature, MA. And I was like, is this the same book that you've been reading in school? And she's like, yeah. And it was like, for some reason, I said, why is this movie rated MA? It's the same book you were reading, right? And she's like, oh, it's probably chapter 17. And I was like, well, what's chapter 17? And she's like, that's where they kill the baby. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, they strap the baby to the table and they kill it.
Right, because it was inferior or something. I think they were only taking kids that were, of a certain level of some sort or something. Maybe this child had a defect of some sort.
Right. Yeah, and I was like, are you kidding me? The title of the
movie itself, The Giver, I always thought that was weird. It's like, what the hell is he giving? What's he giving exactly? Yeah.
And so she said to me that, it really shook her up when she read this. So I went online and I posted to her school, Facebook page. And I was like, did any other kids or, parents have this conversation about chapter 17 in this book, this dystopic book about killing kids, killing babies and stuff like that. And it was amazing how many parents just thought like I had like
reacting
3 heads. It's like, what problem do you have with this? And I was like, well, I just really haven't approached the subject of what's the word, infanticide with my kid yet. I haven't really had those conversations. And they were all like, well, maybe this book is a great starting point for you to start talking to your kids about these topics. And I'm like, what, like killing babies? Like
killing inferior babies, or what you would consider inferior or something, or just killing, period. But look how many murders a child sees on televised near vision. By the time they're 16, they witness over like 9,000 murders. And I think, especially in today's world with the televised near vision, it's so prevalent that everybody's just desensitized to it. It's like, oh, wait, what's your problem? Oh, they killed a little baby in this one little sentence here.
Well,
get over it.
Look at look at Game of Thrones. You've got so many people watching this show. Okay, I haven't seen an episode yet, but tuning in week after week to watch violent rape and murder take place in front of their eyes. Yeah. And just like, it's like every single week there's violent sex and raping taking place. Men on man, man on woman, woman on man. It's just like whatever. Yep. It's all happening. And guys and girls are tuning in by the millions to watch this on a weekly basis. They line up. They have the snacks all laid out and everything like that. It's like, how crippling does that effect does that have on a population when week after week they're witnessing violent sexual acts, and they're just absorbing it into their head, you know, just like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Where
and then
we've
it'll be
come.
like, oh, you were raped? So what? No problem. You'll be fine. You'll get over it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like no big deal. Oh, what happened to you when like, I got raped, had a few beers.
Yeah, nothing compared to like what I saw on Game of Thrones, you know. So I guess I'm all right, right?
Yeah, it's insane what they're putting out there on the Your Vision and the movies and stuff that are out now. I remember the good old days when movies had some good content, but now it's like I can't even. I tried watching one of these superhero shows with my husband, and all the CGI stuff going on.
Oh
and all
yeah,
this
it's
stuff.
so hard to watch.
I was like, I can't. This is giving me a headache. I gotta go upstairs.
It's like this. It's like
you can watch it. But also what I noticed with the Game of Thrones is that they also, turn the tables. It's always that somebody does something really fucked up to you, and now here's your opportunity to get them back. And you could sit there and watch them suffer and then turn your back and walk away. And ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
So as if there's no forgiveness. There's no figuring things out on another level. It's either, you get hurt, you get raped, you get whatever, they kill your family. You got to go and seek revenge. You have to perpetuate this cycle of hate, backstabbing and all this other stuff like that. And it's generational and stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you. You do you do StreamYard when you do your live streams, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you go about sharing your screen?
I'm still learning that one, Christian. You'd probably be better off asking Brian because my last time I tried to share a screen, it didn't work out for me. I had to give it to Brian and let him share it on his end.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I
see
can't
some.
wait to be able to do it, and I'm sure it's super simple. I'm just not figuring it out because I got a lot of stuff that I would like to share. But as soon as I know, you'll know.
Yeah, we gotta work on this together. I see some icons off to the right, and I see some icons down at the bottom, but I'm just not sure exactly what to hit to like jump over to the screen share, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. What we're heading to and where we're at pretty much, we already have our foot way into the door of this whole thing here. It's a Luciferian utopia for them.
Yeah.
It's a literal nightmare scenario for us, but for them it's a Luciferian utopia. Watching the Super Bowl halftimes over the years to see where we're at now, even the VMAs, like what you were talking about and everything, you look at all these award shows and everything. I remember breaking them down like 10 years ago, talking about, this symbol and that symbol. Now it's just so in your face. Even the Olympics, that one Olympics they had over there in England somewhere, I think it was, where they had an actual kind of like blow up baby on the field and they were like dismembering it and shit.
Yeah.
It was insane. And it's just so in your face now that people like us who can see it, it's like, oh my God, like it cringes you. Whereas these kids today, this generation's born into it, and when my kids have kids, it's going to be so right there. It's going to be normal for them, just like it is for these satanic signs. This is what they want. They want to come out into the open and bring their whole, structured system that they have out into the public, so it's every day. So Lucifer can be worshipped every day on the surface, on the mainstream. I mean, he already is pretty much, but people will actually live it in their lives. The Church of Satan, After School Satan, all this shit's happening right now. It's crazy. Baphomet fucking statues are going up everywhere. It's insanity. I did a video a while back called Luciferian Workings Through Children. And I'm going to have to repost it. It's really, really good. It's all images. And you could see how they're focusing all this stuff on the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on 1 second.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're echoing. I guess that's your natural state, though.
Oh, here. I could actually modify things.
So where are you at? Are you in like your special room in your house there where all your instruments are? You got your own little setup there?
Yeah, we have a basement that's like it's a multi-purpose room. Like we got weights and we got exercise gear and we got what is that, an Xbox, and I have a section where I've got my music stuff set up, so it's all in the basement near Boston.
Right, okay. That's
And
cool.
it's, you know, in the Truman Show, when he starts to realize what's going on and he's like you know, challenging the world around him, you know, and he's going out on the boat ride and stuff like that. It seems like that might be what you're talking about. Like things might be like getting to a point where it becomes blatantly obvious that we live in like a manufactured reality. And the people that have no grasp of events being manufactured or anything like that might just completely break down. Whereas, you know, if you have some kind of concept of changes that have been happening and the fact that there are, you know, kind of like a creepy group of people that are controlling the world in a way that, you know, has us all basically slaves and stuff. If you know, if things start speeding up that way where people are like becoming increasingly aware of the fakeness around them, it could be like a connection with the Mandela effect where we're kind of being given these clues because we're about to witness some crazy stuff, you know.
Well, I also thought of the Mandela effect as being a way of bringing our attention back onto all this physical stuff, where we're trying to get out of here, and get out of here is going to be a spiritual thing. Spirituality is beyond the material world, yet this Mandela effect keeps drawing our attention back into this physical realm and all these physical things that are changing and stuff like that. It's important, but it's not as important as our spirituality and getting out of here. And I think that this Mandela effect, the cause of it is the flat earth rising, is what I feel. They knew it was going to come back up and they couldn't hide it, and there was going to be a tipping point at some point, maybe because of technology and everything like that. And they knew that there was going to be a certain amount of us that were going to wake up and they couldn't stop it. So they conjured or did whatever they did to contact the negative spiritual side of this thing. And they've been in cahoots with it this whole time. So it's not like some big effort to try to conjure this. This has been in the works this whole time. This is the end game, I feel. Flat Earth is the end game for me. And it's like the last card, you know? And they can't stop it. So what do they got? They got nothing left. This is it. I think the Mandela effect is really the Flat Earth effect.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
It's really interesting. Mad Pieman says, like, I think Brian is Truman. Brian Stay.
Right?
And could you imagine,
he's gonna get
like,
on his little sailboat and sail out one day and hit that wall.
the fact that, like, he saw the sign disappear that they had, and it said "Welcome to Centralville," and he was like, "What?" And then
I would love it if he walked out of his house one day to smoke a joint and fucking a thing fell on the ground and it said "Serious" on it, and it's a light.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be awesome.
I'm totally expecting more things like that to happen to Stavely, you know, like
Yeah.
he's gonna walk
See,
into.
he's really in tune with it, and he's vibrating at a completely different frequency. And I think I said this before in one of my talks that maybe each Mandela effect has its own frequency, and that's how it affects people differently.
Interesting, yeah.
That, you know, like the Statue of Liberty one. My mom's been to the torch,
Right.
but there's plenty of people that haven't been to the torch, and you know, so for them, that update will take hold easier because it's not an anchor effect in any kind of way. Like the effect could never update my mother because she's been there. She knows she's been there, and it's never going to be like for her, well, maybe I wasn't there that day. Maybe I did just go to the Crown. No, she went to both of them.
Yeah.
Like the JFK thing for me, you know, that's kind of my anchor effect. And for others, it's no big deal, or they can recall, oh, wait a minute, maybe it was 6. I kind of recall, you know, Connolly's wife in the car. Or they'll say 5, they won't say 6, but they'll add the wife in. And I'm like, when I look at them, I'm like, that's so interesting that you would say his wife was in the car. Yeah. Because I clearly only remember one woman in that car. I mean, that's a staple. There was one woman and 3 men in that car, period. Yeah. And for me, that update would never take hold. So it doesn't have that much of a resonant frequency with me for that effect. You know, I can see over the effect and still see the truth of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It definitely is based on frequencies. And I think that they are manipulating the frequencies through their magic, through their conjuring, channeling, whatever the hell it is that they're doing with these technologies that are open up doorways to the spirit world. I mean, if you can put a spirit app on your phone, God only knows what the hell they're doing with D-Wave and all this other stuff.
Oh, I know.
I mean, and then when you've been at it so long like they have, it's second nature for them to conjure, and they already have specific demons that are in specific bloodlines. And it's so in-depth. You really have to know your enemy and what they're about. And the things that I had learned back in the day, before I even knew the earth was flat, before even Mandela effect came into my life, I was learning about all this Satanist stuff and the contract signed in blood and selling your soul and all this stuff, and you know, drinking urine and eating feces and these rituals and sacrifice and baby sacrifice and everything like that. So I already have that as my base. I know that this is what they're about. No 2 questions asked. All you gotta do is look around. You can see it everywhere. Yeah. And,
I mean, at some point, I just couldn't believe when I like woke up to the circumcision and just like, how did we get so far lost that we feel like this operation that we perform on babies is something good for them? You know?
Knives and needles when you're born. Knives and needles. That does not sound very welcoming.
It's like
that's trauma-based mind control from the start.
It's like this guy comes out of this like beautiful, tranquil, fluid-based environment, warm, and it's like smack them, stab them, cut them, you know, it's like, welcome to the world, bro. Yeah.
My son had colic when I brought him home. He cried for 2 months straight.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was because when they try to get all that stuff out of the baby's mouth and in the throat from being in the placenta, in the amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
They stick this thing down down the baby's throat, and they kind of suck it out. Oh, well, they pushed it down into my son's stomach and didn't get it all out. And for 2 months, he had digestive problems. And every time he ate, he would throw up, and he would scream and cry. I mean, the colic was terrible. Yeah. I finally had to give him to my grandmom and her sister, and they did their Italian whatever on him. They kept him for a week, gave him back to me. He was fine. Yeah. But for 2 months, he was screaming in utter pain every time he ate. And this was a tiny little baby. Yeah. And, it was horrible. The way they have us having our children nowadays is completely unnatural to the natural state that we should be having them in. And it's kind of like a first impression. You know, that first impression means a lot. And even to a baby coming out into the world, and you're going from one dimension to another, you know, kind of. And when they get into the sterile environment and they're not coddled by the mother and there's all this traumatic stuff going on and bright lights and all this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a good thing at all. It's not a good thing. As a matter of fact, when the babies scream for their first, gasp of air, it's usually a scream. They get them crying. They pinch them or something. They used to slap them on the ass.
Yeah.
Scars their lungs. And I learned that from when I learned about what happened with my son with his colic. And when they suck that stuff out of their throat, it actually, some of it gets pushed down into their digestive tract. And they have a brand new digestive tract. And now you're trying to feed them on top of it, and it wasn't good. But very traumatic experience. We should be born in a very quiet, loving, peaceful, warm, soothing environment, preferably in water, warm water. Baby's going to come out. First of all, labor would not be anything like it is because you would be in the position and in the environment where you would be most comfortable as well, giving birth.
Yeah.
I remember when they had me on the table and I was giving birth, all I wanted to do was get up and get off my back, but you can't because your legs are up in stirrups and they're telling you to push. And it felt like, wait a minute, This kid's coming out somewhere he's not supposed to because you don't feel like he's coming out the right spot. I'm going to get off my back here. But no, they stick you in that position. Women used to, in the old days too, also would go down to a river and have the baby down in the water.
That's what I mean, something serene like that, like, or like in a spa type environment where it's like, just very natural sounds and soothing environment where the lights are naturally like, very soothing. But no, it's like you're into a bright Western hospital and you're being slapped and poked and cut and you're screaming for your life. You have no idea what's going on. You're in terror. I mean, it's you're separated, right, from the mother. Like you get one little thing and then it's like, oh, we got to take them off and then they start working your penis and.
Yep. And it's not even that you get, poked with needles. They're shooting poison into you. You know what I mean? Now they're coming out with this super vaccine that's a 6-in-1 shot for babies. And they're going to start implementing that in 2020. And I'm sure that's going to create a plethora of health problems down the pike for these kids.
Man.
It's horrible. It really is. It's so sickening. If we could all wake up at the same time and do things collectively to get out of this, things would go so much smoother. But they've done such a good job at dividing and conquering us that's virtually impossible. Even in an age of all this information and connectivity between us, there's still so much division.
Yeah.
And, to get people on the same page to do something, even if it's just taking your kids out of school and figuring out a way to homeschool or figuring out a way to start having our babies back at home, create some sort of environment where it's sanitary and safe to do that and educate yourself on even how to do it. And most people don't know how to deliver a baby,
Yeah.
But that's what I plan on doing with my kids. When they finally have kids, I want to be there to deliver the baby. I want to, know everything there is to know and not put the baby into the system. When you have a baby at a hospital, you have to get the birth certificate and shots. If you don't do that, they're going to take your little baby away.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, there's got to be a number of societies that you can kind of glean from. And, if you were to go someplace remote and set up something, maybe remote, but at the same time, you have some kind of connection with the rest of the world if you need some kind of supplies or some kind of technology that you don't have, but start to take a hold of the different practices that people undergo and realize what's essential and what's not essential and, weed all the garbage out of the world that you live in. If you could create some kind of environment like that and be, I often had this question, like, if you take all of the money and all the worries that people have about jobs and everything like that away from the situation, what would most people do? They'd probably be creative and they'd do interesting things, with their lives and stuff. But there could be a fair amount of people that would be like lost in a situation like that if they didn't have like what they currently know as like their modern life around them,
Oh yeah, yeah. If they weren't able to Google something and the grid went down, most people don't even know how to grow food or anything. The simple things, or even start a fire. If you didn't have any matches and all this other stuff, how are you gonna start a fire? So they're going, oh my god, we're Google it. Oh,
Yeah.
Google's down. Shit, what do we do?
Yeah.
They have us so dumbed down, yet we think we're so smart. No, we have smartphones, but we have stupid people is what we have.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they can
totally.
take those stupid smartphones and everything else away from us at the flip of a switch at any time. And they probably got their finger on the switch right now. They can't wait to do that.
Oh, I know.
I'm sure that time's coming at some point.
And really the devices, I think all of these technologies go back to society, like controlling the society, like even the first TVs that came in, and then the cable TV that came in. I was talking to Stavely before about like those first brown boxes that came in, and Philly was a big part of it. I think they had like Comcast there and stuff like that. But like some of the early cable boxes were those brown boxes with the red numbers on the front. And they had this warning label on them that was like, do not open this box, like under penalty of law, And
you know why? Well, my ex-husband, he used to put that chip in it that would make you be able to get all the channels for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to do that.
Yeah. Well, they also found that they had a microphone in them.
Yeah. Well, he never mentioned anything to me about finding anything particular in the box, but then again, he was only trained to put that one piece in or do whatever he had to do to make you be able to get all the channels for free.
Yeah.
So he might have been compartmentalized that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it,
I remember hearing that they had a microphone and little cameras in there and stuff that they could be, that little red dot that flashed on there.
Yeah. We always think of these technologies as being rolled out so that we could have better lives. But I don't think that that's like the point of them. I think
no, absolutely not. It's definitely to further enslave us even more. It's a prison for our mind. When you watch Tell Lies to Your Vision, you're like going into another world. You're all zoned out and shit. Or these movies and all this entertainment, 24/7 entertainment. Even YouTube. You can put something on YouTube 24/7. It's everything's at our fingertips. It's all distraction. That's all it is.
But even going back to the early television that they had in the house, it's pretty creepy to see the whole family sitting there like staring at the Leave It to Beaver episode that was on or whatever, and they're all like huddled around this device. And then they'd like interrupt the show with like, breaking news, we got like more coverage from the war front, and it's like, obvious control of society that's going on there, it's pretty.
Oh yeah. No, the TV was definitely put in every house for a reason, for sure. Definitely no accident there. Remember the War of the Worlds thing that they did, or that thing on the radio where everybody thought there was really an alien invasion? That was just a test run. That was a beta test. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. Let's wield this around for a while,
Well, they definitely knew people were impressionable. It's like, wow, we really have a lot more control than we probably even thought.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like how people bite on these stories is unbelievable. I mean, the people that are producing the material that is being used to propagandize us, you know, must be like startled at how much we're gulping this stuff down and just like
Exactly. And look where we're at now. They have movies out like The Mandela Effect. You know, they're using their weapon to propagandize this phenomenon that's going on, to steer people to think that, it's this thing over here and not really a spiritual battle going on. It's just some simulation. You're in a simulation and that's it. People will never realize that they're in a spiritual battle. They'll be deceived right out of their free will because, hey, it's just a simulation anyway. Yeah. And, when people don't engage their free will, God gave us free will for a reason. That's part of our weapon against all this.
Yeah.
And our discernment. And,
well, let me ask you this on a slightly different note. I've seen pictures of you like outside roaming around with your cat. Is that and your cat just follows you outside and hangs out?
Yeah.
Really? That's awesome. Like you go out for a walk and the cat follows you and
well, that's how I met him. I was walking my dogs a couple of years ago, and it was late. It was dark out. I had my flashlight, and I walked a few houses down, and there's these, little gullies in the lawns and little drains and stuff. Well, my dogs are sitting there sniffing around doing their thing, and next thing you know, I hear this meow, so I flash my light into the drain, and here comes this little tiny black kitty out meowing at me, and my dogs didn't bark or nothing. They just wagging their tails and they're sniffing them and they're like totally loving them. He's loving my dogs. And my dogs actually tried to hump him. I was like, bizarre. I have it all on camera the night we met, actually. So he followed us on the rest of the walk, walking along the lawn, jumping up and down on trees. We'd stop and then we'd go further. He could jump down and run along with us. And he came all the way back to the house with us.
Wow. And you have no idea whose cat this was or where it came from?
He was a little guy when I met him. He must have probably only been a couple months old, and nobody claimed him or nothing. He would always come out for walks with me. If I took the dogs for a walk, he had to come with us.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So now that the dogs aren't here anymore, they passed away. He's still... If I'm out there walking around and he's out doing his thing, he'll see me and he'll come running over and he'll jump on me and he'll climb a tree, try to impress me and stuff.
That's amazing. And so do you feed the cat or does the cat find its own stuff?
Oh, yeah, he lives here. He's here. He's in the house. He just goes out during the day every once in a while, a couple times a day and does his thing. And he loves hunting. He brings birds and all kinds of chipmunks and stuff home.
That is amazing.
Yeah, he's a cool cat.
And it just happened that way that the dogs bonded with it and who knows the cat.
It was like my husband swore that God sent me this cat because he knew what I was going to go through when my dogs were passing away.
Yeah. Because
I had my dogs for 16 years and now they're all gone. My other cat and my two dogs are gone, and Bella has been such a blessing. I used to say, and I still say it, but my mantra was every day, I'm grateful for all my blessings and all the blessings that I have not yet received that are already on their way. And, and I said to him today, as a matter of fact, when I picked them up, I said, you're one of those blessings that I was grateful for that I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was on its way.
Yeah. I mean, it looks so awesome. You're out like in the woods and the cat's following you and you're, I mean, it's so cool to see a cat that is, so free and there's a big debate going on in my town because people have issues with outdoor cats or owners letting their cats outdoors because they think it's like a death sentence and that like we have coyotes and stuff like that, and if you're letting your cat outside, that you're really just allowing your cat to die,
right?
So
I definitely would not. I'm not the kind of person that likes to let my dogs or my cats just go out, but he wanted to go out after I brought him home, or he came home with me, so I let him out, and he always came back.
Yeah.
And then he went into heat, or other cats went into heat. And then he was like, he would go out and be out for like 12 hours. And I'd be out all over the place looking for him. And he knows his name. When I call him, he'll answer me in the woods.
Yeah.
He'll start meowing at me, or he'll come. He has bells on so I can hear him. But he used to fight all the time. He'd come home with half his face hanging off.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, we're getting him fixed because I can't deal with this. And I always go look for him if I can't find him. I'll be out there in the woods. I'll be like, Bella, where you at?
That is awesome.
But yeah, he always comes home. And if he didn't come home, I would go out and I would never stop looking for him. As a matter of fact, I am on my like number 10 collar and tag for this cat because I won't let him out without a tag.
Yeah.
And my number. I got 3 numbers on this tag and my address. And he somehow loses them all the time. And I'm like, oh no, you lost another one. I just bought that. You know, I just had it engraved and all this stuff. There's got to be like 10 tags all around this neighborhood.
Mad Pieman says that it's illegal to let your cat outside where he is. I think it's, where is it? Australia or New Zealand?
Well, I talked to the dog catcher around here because I've seen pet control.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just dropped you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I've seen the pet control guy around here, and I said, "Do you pick up cats?" And he's like, "No, we don't mess with cats." I said, "Oh, okay, good." I said, "Well, my cat's got a collar on and everything, but sometimes he loses his collar."
Yeah.
And I'm so afraid that something will happen when his collar's off. Like, if he loses his collar, I won't let him back outside until I have another collar. I even let him wear. My dog who passed away, I saved his dog tag and I put it on his collar 2 weeks ago because he lost his collar again. And he lost that collar too. And I'm like, no, you lost Boo Bear's tag. And, you know, so I'm really upset about that. I'll be out there in the dark with a flashlight looking all over for it because it's got one of those reflectors on it. Like you can see it in the dark because he's a black cat. So I have to have a reflector on him. And, I haven't found it anywhere, but there's a shit ton of leaves everywhere.
You'll find it. It'll turn up.
I hope so, because that was my other dogs. And my dog's leashes are still hanging up. They're right here next to the door. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah, I had a dog that was 17 years old, and she was with me ever since college, and I had her like the last semester of college. And she was like tiny, you know, when I first got her, and it was a part. Get this, it was part Jack Russell, part Black Lab, and the dad was a Jack Russell.
Wow, that must have been interesting.
Yeah, so this little tiny dog was humping this big dog, you know, to get her pregnant.
She must have had to squat down or something.
Yeah, there must have been like some serious physics going on there.
My dog was part Chihuahua, part Jack Russell.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, but he looked Chihuahua, but he had the muscles of a Jack Russell, and he could jump really high.
Yeah.
And then he made it with a full-bred Schnauzer, and his son, I brought home 6 weeks old, pick of the litter, was a Chihuahua, they called him. Chihuahua, Schnauzer, Chihuahua.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. And Boo Bear, he didn't last a year without his dad. He was with his dad all his life. And when Lucky passed away, he died in my arms of old age. When he passed away, Boo Bear made it exactly 11 months without his dad. And then I had to put him down.
Yeah.
Because he got really sick and he gave up. He wouldn't take his medicine. He was on 10 different medications. He wouldn't eat. And there's only one way I could get his medication in him is by sticking it in his food.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take it anymore. So
I was at the same spot, and you know, you end up talking to the vets about like what kind of options you have, you know, and it's usually a long line of different tests they could do, and you know, but ultimately it's like things are shutting down. You know,
yeah, I threw $3,000 at the situation a month before I decided to put him down. At that point, it was like I was out of options, and I had to come to the realization that he was not getting any younger, he's not getting any better, and he's definitely getting worse, and he's in pain now.
Yeah.
So I had to put my big girl panties on one day and do it, and I didn't even call my husband. He was at work. I just got Boo Bear back out of the hospital, and it wasn't even like one day. It was the next day after the hospital, and I brought him home, and I called them, and I just said, I have to set up the euthanization. I'm going to be bringing them in. And I just did it. You know what I mean? If I would have called my husband or talked to anybody, I couldn't.
It would have been a big deal. And
then when I dropped them off, when I took them in, it was a 2-shot series. One shot, he just would, kind of fall asleep. The second shot, I didn't stay for the second shot. I just stayed for the first shot, but I still have that vision of her carrying him down the hallway.
Yeah.
And then I don't even remember driving home. I just remember sitting in my car with his leash across my lap. And I just felt numb. I didn't know what to do. I don't remember driving home at all.
Yeah.
And when I got home, I called my husband and told him, and he's like, I can't believe you did that by yourself. Like, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I had to do that for him because he was suffering and I couldn't, it was the only option I had to make it go away for him. And I knew he was ready to go. He was miserable without his dad. I had pictures of him with my cat trying to play with him, and he was just laying there looking like, his dad was here all his life with him.
Yeah. I knew things were going downhill, and my time with my dog was pretty limited. So I ended up driving across the country with my dog in the back, and we just stopped at all these places and got beef jerky. And it was I went from California to Boston and then back to California with the dog in there. And this dog was so good. I mean, when she had to go to the bathroom, I would just pull off to the side of the road. I'd open up the passenger door. She'd go on out. She'd go to the bathroom. This is right on the side of the highway, She'd go out, do her business, come right back in the door. I'd close the door. We'd continue on driving. She was just so aware of where she was and what was going on. At one point, I had no idea this dog had any skills until I went to a park one day and these kids were throwing around a Frisbee. And at one point, one kid throws the Frisbee, and it's one of those aerobie. It's like a Frisbee ring. It's not it's got a hollow center.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so the guy throws this thing, and out of nowhere, my dog goes bolting after this thing, goes flying in the air, and stabs her head right through the middle of the thing, and comes down with the ring around its head, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot, just completely. And from that moment on, I realized I had this Frisbee dog.
That's so cool.
They would do all these tricks and unbelievable. This dog would go 10 hours a day if you wanted to, just throwing the Frisbee, catching, bringing it back, catching, playing Frisbee, running around a circle, just that was the Jack Russell,
Right. Yeah. I remember this lady came to my house one day, and she was kind of short. She was probably about 4'9". I don't even know. She come in my door, and my dog Lucky runs up to her and starts jumping. And she's like, oh! And every time I jump up, she'd be like, oh! And I'm like, no, you need to catch him when he does, because he's jumping up at her like he wanted her to catch him.
Yeah.
But he was jumping right up to her face. It was so funny how high he was jumping.
Oh my gosh. Dogs are such blessings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love them. Absolutely. I was actually almost thinking about getting another one. And then I had the flashback of what I went through when my dogs passed away, and I just couldn't do it. As a matter of fact, like I said, I wasn't even looking for Bella. Bella adopted us. And I was just telling my husband, God, we're going to have to go through this all again with Bella, because I don't ever want to feel that hurt again. It was so devastating for me. It was literally losing one of my children.
Yeah.
And I just look at my cat and I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt.
I know.
I actually have my dog's ashes right here. I had them cremated, both of them.
It's really tough. Right now, I'm waiting for my kids to get the level of responsibility to be able to, take the dog out for a walk and be able to participate in the raising of the animal and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, it is such a big commitment. I'm not sure we're ready to jump back in, especially because we got so many family members that have multiple pets and stuff. We're like surrounded by pets. We've got all these animals in our life.
Yeah.
We don't have any staying with us, but like all of our relatives, have pets and stuff like that. So we're around them a lot. But I'm still waiting for them to like maybe bring on some more responsibility and before we end up getting another thing. But we've always done the adoption route, like gotten older dogs and stuff. And sometimes you only have like 5 or 6 years or something.
Yeah.
If you adopt an older dog, we got this one guy that was unbelievable. He was part of a group of animals that were all put up for adoption after the owner passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, this guy looks like he was experimented on or something. I don't know. He had like staples in his belly when we met him, but he he was in a shelter of some sort, and we went to visit him, and it was amazing. He came flying out of his cage that he was in, and he like stood right at my feet and looked up at me and just started howling like, oh, right, And I was like, well, wow, this guy's a firecracker, right? Let me take him for a walk. And I took him for a walk. He would not let me go. Like he had like he had pulled out all the stops to make this a successful matching. You know what I'm saying? And he was just fired up from the beginning. He was just like, oh, and he was like, I'm gonna give this a big show. And I was just like, wow, that he really gave me no option but to take him home with me. And
That's awesome.
but it's he was 11 when we got him, and so we had 5 years with him, and he was awesome. We drove across the country with him and had all these great travels and experiences and stuff like that. And it's always it always feels good to take a dog that is older, and who knows what they actually had him on a list to be put down.
Oh, wow. I have a very similar story to that one. It's so weird listening to you tell me that. It was like, reminded me, when I had my very first dog, her name was Taz. I met her because my girlfriend rescued her and was trying to find a home for her. And she was already, we estimated, probably about 3-4 years old. We knew she already had a litter of puppies because you can tell. And she also had a scar on her side from where she was shot at and had a bullet graze. So you could actually see where the bullet just grazed her skin because no fur would grow there. And it was actually the shape of the mark of the bullet going across her skin.
Yeah.
And she was a pit terrier. And I would go to my girlfriend's house, and I'm not a dog person. I was never a dog person. I always had cats when I was younger and stuff. And I go over there, and Taz would come right over and sit next to me and press against my leg. Like she would not move from my side when I was there. And she, my girlfriend's like, well, she doesn't do that with anybody else. she's like, why don't you take her for a walk? Well, I never walked a dog, let alone a pit bull.
Yeah.
But this dog just followed me around her house. Every time I sat down, she'd sit down right next to me. So I took her for a walk. So I wasn't prepared for how strong she was. And, you know, there was other dogs in yards and stuff. And she's like, wah! And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm like, you're trying to contain this beast here. I took her home, and it was a full-grown dog, and she was the best dog. She listened so good. She was very protective. She did not want nobody coming near. There were certain people that could not come in my house because she wouldn't let them in.
Yeah.
And I mean, my ex-husband would have to go outside to talk to somebody because he'd be like, sorry, she can't let you in. She ain't going to let you in here. She's going to tear you up.
Yeah. I've always wondered if they have like a special read on people, you know, and they're like,
oh, yeah.
That dude's like, he's got some pheromones coming off that I'm not fond of. Like, you can tell people that have a lot of hormones going through them, like guys that are raging, you know, like, oh my gosh, my son is in wrestling class, and this one guy has his son in the class as well. And we're all sitting there watching our kids wrestle, and they're like 6 years old and 8 years old and 10 years old and stuff like that. And this guy's kid is like 6 years old, and he's just like yelling at his kids so hard. He's like, Johnny, you get up there now. And I'm, you know, you could feel like the testosterone coming off this dude, you know, and it's like a vibe that you could just like, this guy was so high strung, and the way he was addressing people and everything was so aggressive that like, you know that dogs pick up on this stuff like right away, right? And they're like, whoa, that you know, it's
well, they
pretty.
can even sense when somebody's going to have an epileptic seizure.
Yeah.
A lot of rescue dogs are trained for that and stuff. They can let the person know before they even know they're going to have a seizure that something's going to happen. They have way more senses online than we do. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know, it was interesting. On my birthday, it was, I think I might have been like 35 or something, 34 years old, something. And I went hiking to the top of this mountain in California. And it's the kind of thing where you hike and you can get up there at like as the sun's going down, because the moon will be so bright, you can like, it illuminates the whole path on the way down. So you can have like this moonlit walk back down from the mountain. It's really nice. And so we got up to the top, and the sun's about to go down, and out of nowhere comes this fox. It's like a rare fox in California called the Lassen fox. And it's this gray fox that comes strolling out of nowhere, just like up on the peak of this mountain. And the fox, like, there's a whole bunch of people at the top that have congregated and, you know, like standing around taking pictures and stuff like that. And this fox makes a beeline for me. And it just, this fox comes over and sits right next to me. And
really?
And this was my birthday. Okay.
Wow.
This is like,
he knew you had the good vibes.
Yeah. Or he could have smelled the ganja in my pocket. I'm not sure. That might
maybe that too.
But the interesting thing is my middle name is Fox too.
Really? Like Michael J. Fox? No, I guess that wouldn't be a middle name. So your middle name is Christian Fox?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And this fox comes over, and everyone, there's like 40 other people up at the top of this mountain. They're like, oh my gosh, look at this thing. And it just cuddles up next to me. And it's just
that
like
is so awesome.
And it's like I'm sitting there like petting a fox that's out of the wild, you know, and he's just like as if he were my pet, you know. It was the weirdest thing in the world. Like aren't foxes normally like really kind of like aggressive and like?
Yeah, man, they got some sharp teeth and they will fuck you up.
I think this one was just looking for some like ganja and just like, wow, man, this guy's like I gotta hang with him.
I know the red tail ones or the red ones are pretty aggressive, especially around the mating season. You can hear them around here making these really weird sounds. I saw a dead one in the road. It's a shame. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, they've got those great coats on them and stuff like that. It's a shame to see them get taken out by cars and stuff like that. But think about all the trapping that used to take place, you know, up in Canada and stuff like, you know, just like finding all kinds of, I don't know. It seems sad to kill an animal just for the fur that it's got.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, it's one thing if you're in the wild, living off the land, and you need skins to, you know, protect yourself from the elements and stuff like that. But
yeah,
these are things that people buy for pleasure.
Yeah.
So, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, it was like, it was quite a treat to, first of all, climb the mountain and then be like confronted with this fox, especially considering my middle name is Fox, you know, and it's my birthday. And I'm like, wow, this guy's right up in my grill, you know.
Well, I saw a video of this dude. He's one of those wild photographers, and he was photographing all these bears, these brown bears. We're crossing this river. I'll have to dig up this video. And they're all coming down from the side of the mountain into this river. And it was like a shit ton of them. It was weird. Well, you know how these photographers, they try to be real still and stealthy and stuff?
Yeah.
And try to blend in. This one fucking bear comes walking over to him as he's sitting there and he's watching this bear. This fucking bear is huge. Fucking bear sits down right next to him, starts rolling around on the ground.
Yeah.
And just kind of checking his stuff out, and then he meanders down into the river and crosses. It was like so crazy.
That is amazing. You know, I was in the Badlands, South Dakota, and we camped in this like area in the Badlands that just was like a kind of a prairie, just like an open field. And my buddies and I were, you know, we didn't use a tent. We just like set up a sleeping bag, and you're looking up at the stars. You go to sleep. It's pretty amazing. Well, I woke up and my buddies were like, "Christian, wake up!" And I kind of like look up, and a bison, you know, like the American bison, these big monstrosities of animals, was right next to my face.
Wow.
And he was actually walking through like the area we were sleeping in to get to the like just the field that was behind us. And he just was like smelling me. And he just like he came by, and I was like frozen looking at this thing. And it had like these dreadlocks, you know, it's like all this hair that had kind of like, it must have been like a 60-year-old bison or something like that. He was like just chilling, looking to, you know, head to this field. And that's what someone told us later was like, especially the male older bison, they just kind of like to be by themselves, and you know, they can kind of like go hiking off from the group, and you know, find themselves on their own, just kind of like straggling through. And
right.
I'm not sure if that's like you know, old age. They're just kind of like don't want to be bothered by the group, something like that. But
I've been to the Badlands. It's a neighborhood in Philly, actually.
Oh yeah.
Definitely ain't no bison there.
Was it you
But,
that was
it's funny that you
telling?
said the Badlands. Immediately, I'm thinking, the Badlands? Has he been to Philly?
Was it you that was talking about the roof? The roof is on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the Badlands.
Well, no, that's actually Huntington Park area, which is where my high school was, and it's called like Feltonville area.
Yeah.
The Badlands would be like this area called Kensington and Frankfurt area. It's pretty rough area. It's drug infested, crime infested.
Yeah.
It's just not good. It's all dilapidated. Remember when you watched the very first Rocky movie and he gets up real early in the morning, he goes running before he gets to South Philly, because he's actually, when he wakes up and walks out his door and starts running over that one bridge, that's the Badlands.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You
don't want to go down anywhere near there.
I lived off the main line for a little bit, like by Valley Forge, Phoenixville.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived out there for a little bit, and there was this band that I used to listen to a lot called the Manatees. You ever hear them? Manatees?
I don't think so.
They used to play the whole like Philly area, and they were just like kind of groovy music and stuff like that. But there were some serious rough areas in Philly when I was. This was like the 90s.
Yeah, well, I graduated in '88, and we used to take a trolley car, like what trolleys are.
Yeah.
Anyway, we took the trolley to 10th Street. Excuse me. We had to get off 10th Street and walk down like 5 blocks to the high school. And we were told numerous times to not wear, because back then girls would wear big gold earrings and stuff, and then big chains and everything.
Yeah.
Well, people would run up. And this is at 7 in the morning. They'd run past you, and as they're running past you, snatch your shit off of you and keep running.
Yeah.
So we were encouraged not to wear any jewelry or anything when you're walking to school and stuff. Anybody who drove to school had chance of their car getting broke into and their radio stolen and stuff like that, because Huntington Park was right across from my school, and that was all like getting to be prostitutes and drugs and everything.
Yeah.
This is crazy what I grew up in. Crazy.
Well,
I had some bad situations too. I had a guy try to carjack my car one time. He jumped in my car and he had a poker, which is a screwdriver that's all filed down real sharp.
Yeah.
And the thing had blood on it. I saw it. As a matter of fact, he dropped it in my car before he finally got out. And my husband found it the next day on my floorboard on the side, and you could see the wood handle had blood stains all over it.
Oh my gosh.
And he could have very easily reached over to me and sort of poking at me, just all over my chest or whatever, because he was telling me to get out of the car. And I was like, I'm not getting out of the car. And there was a cop coming, and I was like ready to floor it and just smash right into the cop car. I didn't even care.
Yeah.
And the guy jumped out. But I remember before he jumped out, he kept reaching around, feeling for something. So he must have dropped it and couldn't find it in my floorboard.
Yeah.
We found it the next day. Yeah.
It's crazy the how brazen people are these days. We just moved to like the Bay Area in California, like near San Fran. And my wife was actually at a restaurant, just like with another friend. She had her laptop open. She was like showing her some stuff that she was working on and stuff like that. A dude just came up and ripped the laptop right off her table, went running.
Oh my God.
Right in a restaurant.
That is insane.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so sketchy in San Francisco. It's like my nephew was in his car and he had a guy busting into his car trying to steal his briefcase while he was in the car. It's like,
oh my God.
He was like, dude, I'm still in my car, and there's just so many robberies that they've decided not to classify them as like felonies. Like when these things happen, they've had to make everything a misdemeanor because there's just like so much stuff, and they can't really prosecute any of it, you know?
Well,
and it's like all of these people that are responsible for all of the bad stuff going on in San Francisco now, guess what? They're either running the state or they're running for president.
Oh my God.
You know, it's like these are the next round of candidates that we're going to be choosing from, as far as like, you know, and they were like that the district attorney in San Francisco, and it's like when you fail miserably at your job in politics, you get promoted to a bigger job.
Yeah, isn't that the way it seems like it goes too? All the time, yep.
It's so crazy. It's like you fail as a mayor and you become the governor.
Yeah. Like that guy in Washington, that governor or mayor that was found smoking crack or something a long
Barry?
time ago.
Marion Barry?
Yeah, that Marion guy. And,
yeah.
you know, the whole reason I moved out of Philly to begin with was because everything was getting stolen out front of my house.
Yeah.
My 2 cars got stolen. My recycling bucket got stolen. My shovel, when I would shovel my snow, got stolen. My kids' bikes got stolen.
So
he
is
got
this
shot out front of my house? That was the last straw.
You said that you were talking about like your husband and you had a really nice house, and this was the car that he peed in. No,
that was a different car.
Is that a different house?
Yeah, different house. It was when we were still in Philly. Well, the car thing when he peed in the car happened when we were in Florida.
Oh, okay. So that was like a really nice house you guys had in Florida?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. He still has the house, as a matter of fact. It doesn't look as nice as when I used to be there because, you know, I'm the one who, I couldn't believe what was going on with his pool. I was like, are you growing something here in your pool? What's going on? Because I took care of the pool every day.
Yeah.
And it was my first in-ground pool and stuff in a single home and everything. I was loving it, but I hated my marriage. It was horrible. It's like a beautiful prison.
Well, I was just wondering if that was Philly because, like, you were describing a really nice house, and then you were talking about things getting ripped off and everything like that. But
yeah, he was a bastard like that though in Philly. So he knew how to work on cars really well. And he would work on everybody else's car but mine. You figure I'm his wife and I drive the kids around in the car. He would work on my car, right? No.
Yeah.
I told him one day, I said, my steering wheel, there's something wrong with it. It's loose. I don't know what's going on with it. He's like, oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah, loose steering wheel. You definitely want to check out.
You've got some... Yeah. You want to take a look at this. No, he didn't take a look at it. As a matter of fact, the next day or maybe a couple days later, I was in the car with my sister and we're driving down this avenue and the fucking steering wheel comes off in my hands. And I'm trying to put it back on. I'm in the middle of fucking traffic, okay? I got the steering wheel in my hand. My sister's freaking out. I'm like, grab the column. It was an old Regal, 1988 Regal. It was really nice too, but it needed work, obviously. So anyway, she's holding the steering column. I'm trying to get it to go back on there to where I can actually steer the car. And I managed to get it into a parking lot and park it. And then I fucking carried that steering wheel 3 blocks back to my house and like to kill my ex-husband with it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be fine, right? No problem at all. Steering wheel's going to be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Here, fuck you.
I would be tempted to just like whack the dude over the head with it. Like, I mean, if a steering wheel comes off, that's serious.
Yeah, it's not good. What if the kids were in the car? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just like, and when I tell people this story, they can't even believe it. They're like, are you kidding me? Well, I'm like, I would have to call up this one girl, which was a friend of his, and say, look, I'm going to drop my car off at your house. You call my husband and say, look, I need you to come over and work on my car. When he gets here, my car will be here. Because he wouldn't work on my car.
That's crazy. You know, if you look at all these crazy things that we've been through, like, and all these different events where you look back on and you're like, how in the world did that turn out the way it did? You know, it has to be some kind of divine intervention of some sort, you know?
Well, you got to go through hell to get to heaven. And I certainly went through 13 years of hell, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I did have my son with him, my youngest, Ryan. He's 26 years old, and he is my blessing out of that 13 years. And my ex-husband, every time when I do see him, which isn't all the time or anything, I did just go to Florida recently and I saw him, and he seems so small to me now, and he's so pathetic, but yet he's always so sorry, tells me how much he still loves me. And like, I literally, if I called him up right now and said, I'm leaving John, I'm going to come back to Florida, he would just be like, come on, I'll help you back, you know? Because he'll never find anybody like me that probably would put up with the shit that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though he says that he's changed, I know he hasn't. First off, I never go back. I keep moving forward. So that's not even an option for me anyway. But the fact that he knows what he's lost and he still always yearns to have it back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
that's one of the telltale signs, you know, someone that keeps living life in their past.
Yeah.
You know, someone that is like looking back at, you know, like the better days are behind them and stuff like that. You know, it's like it is someone that seems like really small. Like when you move on from these people that are oftentimes toxic in your life, you realize,
oh yeah, absolutely,
like how. And sometimes you kick yourself for like how you got caught by such a small rut, you know?
Yep.
It's like, how did I get roped into all of that? You know, I had a girlfriend one time that told me that I needed to either marry her or move on within like a certain period of time. She like gave me a time limit. And it was like 18 months or something like that. Like if I wasn't ready to marry her in 18 months, that like it was going to be over. And
oh my God.
It was like one of these things where I saw the clock ticking and I was like, can I
get an extension?
yeah, I just didn't even know where to go with that. But like when I finally moved on from it, it was painful. It was one of these situations where I was actually still, and I think you actually mentioned this as well in your story. I actually was still living with her while we were like broken up.
Yeah, that's
right.
Tough when you
We're
can't just leave. You got to stay there and financially figure that all out and
so
stuff.
we like we had a 2-bedroom, so I like took the other bedroom, and then she would go out on dates and like come back at like 2 a.m. or something like that, just to make me like all crazy, you know. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like torture, you know.
Yep. And you know, I don't. How can I explain it? I don't regret the choices that I've made. I probably could have made better choices on different topics, sure. I probably could have handled a lot of different situations better. But it's all led me to where I am right now.
Yeah.
If I would have deviated at any point and chose something different, because it really all comes down to choices.
Yeah.
I may not be sitting here right now in Alabama in this house with my husband, talking to you on the phone right now.
Exactly. I mean, you seem really happy. That's one of the things that I love about you is like you seem really happy with like talking, you're giggling, you talk about your kids in a really great way and how supportive you are of your husband and vice versa. And all that stuff is just like, you know, you don't get there by accident, you know?
Exactly. And you appreciate it a lot more when you've gone through that. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of people who marry their high school sweetheart and, you know, live, happily married for 60 years, uneventful, whatever. And that's all fine too. But I appreciate what I have a lot more because I know what I've had before, and the emotional and trauma of the mental abuse was so. I really got to a low point in my life. I mean, really, really low.
Yeah.
And I just turned to things that I felt made me feel better. Use different things as a crutch to get through, to mutter through. And even those things that I did, I don't regret because it did help me in a way. Because I might be dead right now if I didn't, did what I did. But at the same time, I know why I was doing it. It was because of the situation that I was in. And I tried to remove myself from it a number of times, but it was one of those situations where he had everybody wrapped around his finger, and everybody lived in only 3-block radius. My grandmom and my aunt lived 2 blocks away. My mom lived 1 block away. There was nowhere for me to go, and they all loved him to death, and it was like everybody thought he was an awesome guy. So then I'd be like sitting there like, you have no fucking idea. Yeah. Oh, you think he's so fucking awesome? You want the keys to my car? Here's a screwdriver and a Slim Jim. That's how you get in my car, because my car got stolen and he wouldn't replace the locks or fix the steering column. So you had to use a screwdriver to start it, and you had to use a fucking Slim Jim to get in the car. And she's like, people are like, I can't believe this. I didn't know it was like this or whatever. Or he's out with his friends, and she's like, well, aren't you going to bring Jen something home? And he'll be like, oh, no, He just never thought of me. But yet, at the same time, he wanted to keep that hold over me. So it never made sense to me. It's like, you act like you fucking hate me. You treat me like a piece of shit. But yet, you want me here, and you don't want, you love me and all this stuff like that. Doesn't even make sense. His idea of love was a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I broke up with this girl after like 2 years, I had family members that were telling me like how much of a big mistake I made. And that was like brutal. Like, I knew that I was definitely not cut out for this particular girl. And, I decided to like let the time lapse on it, like whatever the time was that I was given to like determine whether I was going to marry her or not. I just like let the time lapse go. And, that was the end of the relationship. But I had family members going, oh, dude, you made a big mistake. And I'm like, okay, how about some support from my closest family members, and they just looked at me like I had just like fucked up my life,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I actually did not fuck up my life. I actually, saw a lot of problems with the way this thing was going and got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. I got the fuck out. I said, you can have the house, the car, the boat, everything. I just want $5,000 and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's pretty fucking cheap. But then he started fucking around and, doing all this shady shit. And then I said, well, now it's going to be 10,000. And if you keep fucking with me and my shit, it's going to be 20,000. So I'll slice your little fucking life in half and take half this house. And then he's like, oh, burn this house to the ground before I let you have it. And all that. I said, I don't want your fucking house. I just want to get away from you.
Yeah.
And
that's toxic.
But listen, I got to get off here. I got to get to bed soon. I got to get up early for work.
Hey, thank you so much for talking. I love talking to you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We're going to definitely have to do a show together. I'm going to be live streaming here soon. I promise.
Get that nose fixed. I got a story about busting my nose up, and I'll tell you next time we talk. But I did the same thing in a different environment, but I ended up going into work like I had bandages like all over my face. It was crazy. But
I'm just hoping I don't have black eyes tomorrow.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I'll be thinking good thoughts for you. And
all right, baby. I love you guys. Thank you for everybody in the chat too. I have not been watching the chat.
Mad Pie Man and Derek, everyone talking about their recent relationships and exes and stuff like that. It's
See,
pretty
that's
amazing.
what I love about these live streams and stuff. We can start off on one topic and then we end up on some other realm somewhere doing something completely different. And
Yeah, totally.
That's what I love about, you know, not having one specific topic, you know.
Exactly.
You never know where these conversations are going to go.
Good places, that's all.
All right, baby. Well,
All right.
good night and fireball.
Yeah, see you, Jen.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to have to step out. It's time for me to hit the hay. Got kids in the morning. And I just wanted to thank you guys, Derek, Mad Pie Man. Thank you guys for hanging out and chatting. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. All right.